everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Here we are, back in effect, Brad Shoemaker.
Hi.
Happy May.
Thanks.
May the fates be with you.
How about Meltdown May?
Sure, okay.
Meltdown May has begun.
Alex Navarro, Meltdown May has begun. Welcome back.
Meltdown May, one of the only true constants in the universe.
No Movember and Meltdown May. No Mo May. Movember.
Nope.
Nope.
I'm denying you this entire intro.
Okay.
I'm back here to I'm back here to keep you in check.
Mario Day. Which one is that? What's Mario Day?
What is Mario Day?
March 10th.
That's right.
Oh, because
R10. Yeah.
So bad.
God.
So bad.
Man, stop with the days, please. I can't stand it. Did you celebrate Alien Day 2 weeks ago?
No.
On 4/26.
It's gotten too commercialized.
I know, it's pretty. I know, right?
It's gotten too commercialized. What do you get somebody on Alien Day? I don't even know anymore. It's just so much pressure.
See, this is why Meltdown May withstands the test of time, and all these other things are just annoying, because Meltdown May is cosmic. Meltdown May is a force of nature and an unstoppable thing, whereas all this other shit is just like dumb things that people invent to sell products.
Meltdown May comes from the heart.
I feel like just at some point, people are putting up Meltdown May signs, right? They're putting them up right after Meltdown May. They're putting them up in June. Meltdown May seems to get earlier and earlier every year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's almost like it's just kind of a meltdown life now. That's just, we live in a constant state of melting down.
Go to the department store in February and they're already playing Drake.
Well, glad to see you guys. Glad to have everybody back here.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, I'm sad you missed the Shogun 2 talk. I know how big of a Total War fan you are.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that FX series. That's right. There is also a Shogun game. I forgot.
There was also talk of
you
the
had
FX
Rob
series.
Zachney on, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. We really did.
Yeah.
We really did.
Yes. In fact, he was playing the game because of that show.
That's right. Alex, you start that Fallout series?
I did.
Oh.
I started 2 different video game series at the same time, because I also started that Knuckles series.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, there is a streaming miniseries featuring Knuckles from the hit film franchise Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mega hit.
Yeah, with Idris Elba.
Good.
No James Marsden. He's out of town, apparently. But some other wacky characters.
Who did James Marsden play?
He's
the human.
Sonic's dad.
Oh, he's bodily in the film?
Yes.
Yeah. It's live
friend.
action for those who don't know, except for obviously Knuckles and Sonic.
Yeah, it's a little nonic. Here's the thing. I don't hate those movies. They're better probably than they should be. I don't think they're great or anything, but they're decent little family films. This is marginal.
Okay.
What possessed you to watch this?
Me not hating those movies and just being curious more than anything else. Also, my partner likes the Sonic stuff, so she was just like, yeah, we'll check it out. It has the tone and the overall look of a Nickelodeon sitcom. Okay.
Is it goofy? Because Knuckles is not a goofy character in the movie.
It is a little wacky. I mean, the wackiness is his steadfast warrior beliefs against the suburban dipshits that he is now surrounded by.
Is Sonic in the movie or in the series?
Very briefly in that first episode. I don't know if he shows up again. Tails also has like 2 lines.
Oh, right.
No James Marsden, but the lady friend is in the show, and there's a bunch of wacky neighbors that he seems to be interacting with. He's trying to help his neighbor with a bowling tournament in the first episode. It's not that funny. It's like has a few jokes. That's about what I would give it. It also has that hallmark of we spent all the CG on these movies, on our CG budget, so when we're doing the streaming series, 1, the models don't look as good, and 2, we are not telling these actors what their eye line is as carefully as we would in a movie.
Not as many.
Because sometimes they are just looking off, and that is not where they put the character.
They did not splurge on the tennis balls on a stick.
No.
Is that still how they do it? I assume they do something different now. It's my Jar Jar Binks time frame.
Jar Jar was on set, believe it or not.
The Jar Jar?
Yes,
the Ahmed
Best. The Ahmed Best was. They originally it was going to be a suit character.
Oh,
and they were just going to put a digital head on it. You can see all of this in the feature length behind the scenes thing. God, what do they call it? The beginning or whatever the name, the thing on the Phantom Menace Blu-ray or DVD.
You can't see me shrugging, but
they did a whole ass like feature length documentary on the making of that movie. I mean, if you've seen any of the, it's like poetry, it rhymes and shit like that. It all came out of that documentary.
No.
Jar Jar is the key to all this.
Mm-hmm.
No, not ringing any bells.
No.
Man.
Should they be? Am I lucky? Is this one of those?
Yes.
I did see an article float by recently about something like reevaluating Jar Jar Binks or something like that.
I want to say that was Ahmed Best speaking on that.
I think it was, yes.
Or maybe he was interviewing him or something, but like he has been through some shit in the last 20 plus years, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think nobody came out of those prequels probably without,
least of all Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, too much damage.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, there's a whole thing in there where it was going to be a suit. He was going to be wearing a suit on set, and they were just going to like paint the digital head on.
Oh.
And at some point, they realized it would be easier to just do all digital. George Lucas is not happy at the amount of money they spent on the suit.
Oh, and that didn't get used?
There's a very tense moment in there where they break the news to him that they will not be using the suit on screen.
And is he like, look how much this cost?
So we spent, I cannot do a George Lucas to save my life. I'm not even going to try, but it's just some full on. So we spent $50,000 on the suit we didn't need to spend.
So we spent $50,000 on a suit we don't need.
How is that George Lucas? I could believe it. That's like George Lucas by way of like Futurama or something.
But like, what is $50,000?
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, he did.
Like that's the catering budget at Lucas Ranch.
To be fair, he did self-fund the movies.
They were out of his pocket.
Yes, he paid for those movies.
He self-funded those movies, but you know what? Here's the thing. He's still making goddamn fucking Star Wars. It's not Francis Ford Coppola funding his $80 million like fucking sci-fi epic that is not based on a franchise and no distributor wants to buy.
George Lucas did not sell his life's work winery to fund those movies.
Yeah.
And let's just be clear. He may have self-funded those movies, but we, the Star Wars fans, really funded him, right? Mm-hmm. So, like,
well, yes,
look, I had my share of Star Wars toys, mugs, lunchboxes. I bought the damn merchandise,
and he made all those himself.
Yeah,
in his Skywalker Ranch.
Not that it matters. I think he, at least for Phantom Menace, I think he actually paid for it by getting an advance on the merchandise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe like Star Wars was so big at that point that he was basically able to just get them to give him tens of millions of dollars up front for merchandise that hadn't sold yet.
I really don't think I could think of a bigger franchise to bank a check against than Star Wars at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because there had been
so little for so long.
That's right. It had been like 15 years since anything meaningful really that I can remember had happened in the Star Wars universe. Those came out in 99, right?
99 for,
Yeah, so Jedi was what, 84, 82?
83.
83. So yeah, it'd been a decade and a half since anything had happened meaningful in the Star Wars universe. The hype for that shit was through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, my understanding, they pulled back substantially on the merchandise for the second one.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I still don't believe it, but like and this is a funny thing, and it's something everybody should always keep in mind about generations and thoughts and how things are perceived, but like the acceptance of the prequels as, they were really good. They were pretty good. The third one's, that's all right. Because at the time, man, those were roasted.
I did walk out of the third one feeling like, well, I don't know if it was all worth it, but that was all right.
Yeah.
The other two, I remember being pretty angry when I walked out of the theater.
But I think, if you're a kid, if you were like 12 and you're going to the theaters and seeing a Star Wars and seeing some cool lightsaber stuff happening in a 500 Jedi in a Coliseum flinging lightsabers around, that's cool as shit. And you're going to remember that and you're going to be like, what are you talking about? Those movies were awesome.
Yeah, problem was I was like 17 and 19 when those first two came out, and I was way too jaded to appreciate anything about what those movies were doing.
I think if you were probably born when Jedi, if you were alive around Jedi, you were probably not in the wheelhouse. This was for a different generation. So
the side conversation there, we were talking about Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout. That's what I was going to get back to.
I'm very excited. I have to give you credit. I really didn't think you were going to watch it.
Oh, really?
Yes. It just didn't seem like your thing. I don't know.
Here's the
maybe,
thing.
Maybe the compound allure of Kyle MacLachlan and Walton Goggins is just too hard to resist.
That was part of it. Here's the thing. If it had come out and people had just said, it's pretty good, I probably never would have checked it out because I'm not that big of a Fallout fan. I like aspects of Fallout, but I've never thought those games were that much fun, so I just don't have that affinity for it. What I'm finding, at least with that long first pilot episode, is that, one, they have taken all the parts of Fallout I actually like, and they are nailing it. And two, Walton Goggins. Walton motherfucking Goggins.
Yeah, and he's barely in that first episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I remember correctly,
he's the bookends for it, and he's great in both those scenes.
You're right. That first scene is like haunting, man. But
yeah.
You are in for plenty of like prime Goggins later.
That's fantastic. And I really like the girl. I think
she's fantastic. She is so good.
What was her name? Ella Purnell.
Ella Purnell, yeah.
She is really good. I'm interested in what they're doing with the Brotherhood of Steel stuff because I like that they are just going hard on these guys are chucklehead assholes aspect of that whole thing, and it seems like they got some good people for that. But I don't know. Like I feel like this is a show that understands what people like about Fallout and is confident enough to take the stuff that works and tell their own story.
Yep. Yeah, we finished it over the weekend. I loved the shit out of it. We should talk about it when you guys finish it here or on the Ramblecast or somewhere.
My partner really liked it too, so I imagine we will get through it pretty quick.
We're about halfway through it. So.
It comes together at the end very, very, very well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I'll probably want to finish it up this weekend if I had to guess.
Cool.
I had to guess.
Yeah, I also am not a big Fallout. I've finished 3 and played like 10 hours of 4, and that's kind of it. Like I'm also not a huge Fallout fan, but I like the setting. But yeah, this is the best Fallout thing I have experienced, short of 1, 2 in New Vegas. For anybody who wants to yell at me right now.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not gonna yell. Look, I've said it before. I think we said it a lot during the Fallout 76 stream. I like their worlds they build more than I like their gameplay.
Yes,
I like what's in them.
It's a great universe. It's a great timeline, alternate timeline kind of aesthetic and vibe, and I really enjoy the, sort of the flavoring they pepper throughout a lot of those worlds that they build. I just don't find playing them very fun, and I also think that some of their direction for their actors and their writing is in fact actively bad. At least that has always been my experience whenever I've tried to play
in the Bethesda Fallout.
In the Bethesda Fallout, yeah.
Well, we'll have plenty more to say about Bethesda in the near future.
Yes.
I think Bethesda did a lot with just moving the ball forward in the Fallout universe. I can't give them all the credit for making that universe, obviously.
No, obviously not.
But same thing with the Elder Scrolls world. I think they're more interesting sometimes than they are to play in. And I'll even say with Star World, Citizen Sleeper, Star Fallout.
Find it. Come on.
Star Map. It's got Star in it.
Starboiled.
Sure does.
Star.
Yeah, no, I'm not helping you, so you need to come up with this one on your own.
I'm not doing this against Star.
And you can't Google. You're not allowed.
Starfield.
Yeah.
Starfield. Just remember, Starfield hates Mondays.
There it is.
Starfield loves lasagna. So Starfield, again, I think it's kind of an interesting setup for stuff, and then just the things that are happening around could be interesting, but just kind of playing it. Anyway, good job, Bethesda, for
licensing your show to someone who actually understands what why Fallout is good.
Yeah, managing that process, because I'm sure obviously we've seen a lot go wrong in that process.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, I won't go on forever about this. We should get back to it when you guys finish it. There will be more to talk about. I watched a video with Tim Kaine, who is the creator of Fallout, but has not been connected to the franchise in a long time. Who seems like an absolutely delightful man.
Mm-hmm.
On his YouTube channel about going to the premiere of that show in Hollywood and like talking to the showrunners and stuff. But apparently, like one of the showrunners is like a diehard Fallout fan. Played all of the games as they came out.
Was it Nolan?
No. So he's not. It's his production company, but he only directed the first 3 episodes. But he was not. It's Graham Wagoner, I believe, is his name.
I know him. Yeah.
Is one of the showrunners. That's the one that Tim Kaine was referring to.
I mean, we've reached that point now, right, where it's like most of the people that are running these kinds of things are at least people that were old enough to be into these things if they aren't necessarily. So, like, a lot of these middle-aged people that are now running shows and making movies and stuff, did actually grow up playing these things and no longer have to be told what they are.
Yeah, it's one thing for the show to use or to present the elements of the game in a way that is respectful and not shitty and hitting you over the head with it. Like that is valuable in and of itself, but to use all those pieces in the narrative ways that they do, to enhance the show, like to really cleverly integrate literal game mechanics into the dialogue and what's happening on screen and everything is really masterfully done.
In not cloying ways. And not
yes.
Like the fan service does not feel obnoxious. Like there is that scene in the very beginning where they first really give you a look at that Pip-Boy and they're like, yeah, look, they've got Pip-Boys. But then it kind of never, like at least in that first episode, they kind of don't really do that again. There's a moment with the power suits and the Brotherhood of Steel, but then after that, it's like they just don't spend a lot of time laboring on the fan service stuff, which I appreciate. In the first episode, yeah.
All right, look, we're going to get to plenty of Microsoft and Bethesda in the news section.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about the positive stuff first.
Right. Yeah. Enjoy your Fallout,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll destroy everything when we get to the news. But let's talk about a game that is in early access that has also been anticipated. I'll call it an independent game.
Oh, yeah.
Hades 2.
Yeah. It still is.
It's just so big. Hades won so many Game of the Year awards and everything. It's almost not independent by way of just being too successful.
But they are still an independent entity.
Yep.
They are not owned by a publisher. They are still not that big of a team, as far as I know.
I actually don't know how big Supergiant is these days, but I suspect it's more than 3 or 4 people.
I looked at the credits, like maybe 24 people, maybe not quite that, like 20 people, something. It's definitely bigger than like the Bastion days for sure.
I mean, one of the most interesting things about Supergiant to me is that they just have not really had much turnover in that time. Like a lot of the creatives that were there for Bastion are still here.
We should say full disclosure, this is obviously Supergiant Games, Greg Kasavin's team, somebody we work with.
There is a relationship there, yes.
We filmed that building the Bastion thing at Giant Bomb. I'm
in Darren Korb's rock band group.
Okay, good.
His
Full
guild,
disclosure.
Just so you know.
You worked for Rock Band. Let's just keep going down the breadcrumb trail here. Yeah. So this is Hades 2. It came out in early access, kind of just dropped out there, though everybody kind of suspected it was coming pretty soon to early access. I think we've all touched some of it. Brad, it sounds like maybe you've made the most progress in it in terms of getting past the kind of intro gatekeeping from the first boss. Thoughts so far?
I'm past that first boss. I'm in Oceania.
Water
area.
We've always been at war with Oceania.
Yes, indeed. Very Hades.
Oh, yeah.
Incisive criticism or analysis here. Extremely Hades, but also like I
with a little witchcraft.
I didn't play a ton of Hades in the first place, and it's been a while, so I don't super remember, but I think the entire upgrade loop is different here, right? Like the Arcana cards and...
The Arcana cards are definitely new.
Like the general, like what you're doing in the hub in between. Well, first of all, we should say, and this is the thing I was the most surprised by coming to it, as far as I can tell, it's like a fully standalone sequel.
Yes, it is.
Like I didn't finish Hades 1, and I was kind of prepared to be missing a lot of stuff by not having done so. But fully new player character, fully new like setting, almost entirely new pantheon of gods and
no, some of the same ones.
Like, there's some overlap, right?
They say the fire goddess is new, I think, because they're like, she doesn't usually get involved in these kinds of things, and then she comes in and she sounds like Angela Lansbury. But yeah, I think most of the gods, at least that I've encountered, and most of like the demigods that you kind of run into are people that I ran into in the original Hades.
Okay.
Do you know when this takes place?
It's after the events of Hades. I know that.
Okay, yeah. There's not a lot of preamble. It is. I think we probably mentioned it's in early access. I wonder if they're going to add more, but it would probably be in there already if it was going to be in there, like some kind of intro, some kind of like any explanation of how it relates to the first game. Like you're there to kill Kronos, right? But
yeah, the Titan.
But they don't really give you any context as to why, and maybe this is where my relative lack of experience with Hades 1 is showing. Like, is it the kind of thing where they are going to backfill that story slowly as you progress and unlock
I would
stuff?
assume so.
Okay.
Because Hades 1 does not have a lot of preamble for why you are mad at your dad. That's or any of that. You just kind of learn that as you progress through it.
Yeah. No mention of Zagreus whatsoever that I've seen so far.
Yeah, they say that Zag, I think they say that you are also a descendant of Hades.
Yes.
But they don't, and they mentioned that we're not raised in hell. You were not raised in the underworld. You were raised by this witch lady, Hecate.
Yes, you are a mortal, according to their text, a mortal princess of the underworld.
Yeah, Melanoe is her name.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's some witchcraft going on in Hades too. And
you're right. It is very Hades in a lot of ways, though this character, I think some of the tendencies that maybe people developed, or I'll just say I developed, in my time playing the original Hades, and some of the things that I used to use to kind of cheese certain fights and do what I did to get through it, it feels like this character build is at least fairly different. Like, the weapons feel different. Some of the dash moves I used to do to kind of cheese through stuff, it feels like do not work quite as well as they used to, maybe on purpose. But the core loop of go into the labyrinth, whatever it may be, get as far as you can, go back to the hub area, talk to everybody, do your upgrades, go, with occasional cutscenes that float in. It is that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant about it being very... It follows the same form of the original game, but like the content of all of it is completely different.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I never finished Hades 1. I put a decent amount of time into it, never finished it.
Did you finish it once? Like, I got the sense that you finish it over and over, right? Isn't there some aspect of like,
I thought
to fully see the story, you have to beat it numerous times or something?
I thought maybe just twice. I'm not sure.
I think it's more than once. I don't remember how many times it was.
Okay. But I think I know how the ending. I think I wound up looking it up for a game of the year or something at some point because I hadn't finished it. But what kept me coming back in, even though that's not really my style of game, I don't really do run-based games that much, but it has so much personality. Yeah. And I think this also has some pretty good character work so far. Even in the limited amount I've done in the hub, the characters seem fun.
I love the, God, what is the name of the vendor who's just a giant ghost blob? He's down to the lower left of the cauldron in the hub.
Oh, that guy. Yes, I forget his name.
He's the something merchant. It's the guy you spend bones at to buy mats and stuff. He doesn't have any dialogue. He just grunts a lot.
I like the shades. I love the little emotes they do when you talk to them.
Yeah, and like the art, of course. Like the art is all just god tier.
These people... God damn it, they're hot. It's too much. Like, there is just a radiance coming off them of fuckability that is really killing me.
I mean, look, if you're gonna be a god or a goddess, like, what are you gonna do?
It's like everyone.
Everyone.
I sometimes I wonder, as a game developer, especially in indie, is the temptation to go horny too strong to resist?
I imagine it's there from the start, It's very much like what level of fuckability are we going forward with this game?
Like, even if you didn't set out to make a game like that in the first place, there's just an awareness of how much horny sells.
Mm-hmm.
You make endearing characters, you're probably going to accidentally stumble into horny somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be somebody's thing somewhere. I really like what I've played so far. I don't know if I'm going to Hades 2 to conclusion, just because...
Well, you can't yet.
Yeah, I can't yet. Yes, right. In 1.0, though I think they say 1.0 by the end of this year, right?
They said at least through the end of this year. They did kind of leave room to maybe not be out of early access on like January 1.
Okay.
But the implication was... So it's like the build number is like version 0.9 something.
0.9, yeah.
Which I think was higher than, like, I saw people saying, like, that's higher than Hades 1 launched at. And Hades 1, I think, was in early access for, like...
a year.
A while, right?
It was over a year.
It seems like early indications are this might be a shorter early access. And it sounds like I didn't see this confirmed from them, but I saw people saying there's supposedly more content in this early access now than there was in all of Hades.
Even in the final game?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I will say this is a much more robust early access launch than the first game had.
So you'd probably be fine to grab it and play it now, but...
Especially if you're, like, really big on Hades. And
I was, and I am. This is, look, Supergiant doesn't make sequels up to this point. They have never made one.
Yes.
And I think after the runaway success of that first game, I am more than willing to forgive them for going back to the well a second time, because... even if this game doesn't seem radically different, and it doesn't, like, there are some additions and some things that have changed, but, like, it is very much Hades, I can completely understand the instinct to be like, we should just probably do another one of those because this game was an absolute gargantuan success.
Yeah.
Also, I bet there are people who like, I mean, I can't speak for you guys. I think you have some of this too. Like I have a knee-jerk response to early access where I'm like, I kind of just want to wait till it's out for real.
Depends on the type of game, but I'm with you.
Same.
Yeah. Anything heavily narrative driven.
Yeah,
sure.
but I bet at this point there are people on the complete other end of that spectrum who relish the chance to interact with the developers and actually inform the direction of the game and like
definitely
get to play a part in like affecting the balance if they think something's not working well and stuff like that. So I'm sure this process has like a lot of value to some players.
So the games that I will go into and do it, and I actually kind of enjoy seeing that progress, like factory building games, things like Satisfactory. I don't know if Factorio was early access at the time.
I thought it was.
I think it was. Yes,
I think
remember
originally
it coming
it was
1.0. Yes. Right, yes, because they added a bunch of combat stuff too, I believe. Yeah, so like games like Factorio, Satisfactory, Grounded, because those games are also sometimes fun to be like, oh my god, they added the thing everybody's been asking for so long, and now this thing is awesome. I bet run-based games can be like that, even though, again, I don't play those that much, of being like, oh my gosh, they retuned this whole thing, and since you're starting over in runs, as long as you don't lose all of your progress, just like I hope I wouldn't lose my entire factory in a factory building game, I think that stuff could be interesting. I think for me, though, anything that has a strong narrative build in it, where they're like, we changed Act 1. And then I'm like, I don't want to replay that. That's why I stayed away from Baldur's Gate in early access for a really long time. Yeah, this seems neat. I'm curious, given Supergiant, they're very clever people over there.
Uh-huh.
Is there some mid-game swerve in this? Like I could see them doing, like, do you think they just do a straight Hades 2 sequel, or is there some kind of mid-game to later game swerve that is like, whoa, this kind of doesn't become a whole different game, but there's something really funky here?
I think it just really depends on what the priority is here, because, like, yeah, that would be rad, but I think the thing is they could play this completely straightforward and they would still probably have a really solid 8.5 out of 10 game. And so you don't have to do that. It just depends on how dedicated you are to trying to surprise the people who actually like Hades.
Supergiant, 3-game studio. What else I got cooking in the back? Nothing.
I don't think they're a 3-game studio. I don't think they will ever be a 3-game studio. That's not their thing.
I think Hades did really well for them. I think this one also was it Hades 1? That was an Epic game exclusive for a while?
Yes. Yes, in fact, that launched, I believe, at the launch of the Epic Store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they announced the Epic Store and that game was there.
So this, we should say, this is on Steam in early access.
Yeah.
I think it's also on the Epic Game Store
that was the time when Epic was also going out and signing a bunch of
Yes.
deals to try and bolster their store. So
Yeah.
that made sense. But, I mean, look, at this point, you mentioned the fact that, like, Hades did very well, but also they're not a 3-game studio because they, even in the wake of that success, they did not really staff up that much. Like, Supergiant does not seem like it is dying to grow like at an exponential rate. It seems like they want to make things at the scale that they currently make them at.
Yeah, like they seem to really operate with an eye towards sustainability.
Yeah,
like their technology has remained relatively similar. Obviously, they've iterated on it, but like they've been making that same general style of 2D game since the beginning. For example, staff has not gotten huge.
They're I'm looking at their team page now. Yeah. Would you say about 24 people?
That was just ish 20, something like that.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down. If this is the entire team, sure, I could see it. I'm sure there are contract people who come in and out too. The look, they've got 5 games now. Bastion, Hades, Pyre, Transistor, Hades 2.
Yep.
Good on them. That game is $30, early access on the PC. You can check it out now. If you've already loved Hades, you are already playing Hades 2 and don't need us to say,
like me,
Hades 2 is out.
Also, they just dropped it.
Yeah.
Like they did run the tech test and did say early access was coming soon, so it was not completely out of nowhere, but it was still kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Not a long marketing cycle.
No.
Which I highly appreciate.
All right, that is Hades 2, currently early access, maybe 1.0 in 2025 is ish. But it sounds like there's a lot in there. Again, I haven't played too much past the initial, would you call it the tutorial run, probably?
Yeah.
It definitely opens up more after you beat that first boss.
Okay. Out now, early access. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more about video games. Stick around. This week's show is brought to you by Squarespace. Alex and Brad, the days of breaking out your notepad and hacking together some HTML and getting on the internet and hoping it works and maybe your web links or circle is going to be good or maybe it's not. Those days are over. Declaring it now.
Saying Dreamweaver's not good enough anymore?
Say goodbye to Hot Dog Pro. Squarespace is here to get you on the web with the tools you want and the tools you need to survive on today's internet. We've actually checked out Squarespace's tools and I actually think they're really great. We went in there. Alex, you made a website about podcasting in a, matter of minutes. It
arguably made a website about podcasting for me.
Yeah. You can use Squarespace Blueprint to choose from a bunch of professionally curated layouts. Find the one that is right for you. Get it up and running. They also have, Brad Shoemaker, did you know this? You can put video behind a paywall on that thing if you want.
What?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Have you
No.
heard of Yeah, they got
It'll
it there.
never catch on.
Finally, somebody figured it out.
You can manage client invoicing. You can do calendars. They have a whole bunch of integrated tools to make your website shine on the internet. You can head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Nextlander to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain using code Nextlander. That's squarespace.com/Nextlander to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code Nextlander. Thanks, Squarespace. This week's show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Alex and Brad, you guys know when it's time to turn on a VPN, I assume.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Oh, you know.
Pulling down the shades, turning the lights real low, firing up that VPN, and just getting on that internet, you know?
Cop?
Yes,
cop?
I have.
You have to tell me.
I'm not an officer of the law, but I am here to tell you that you need to trust your VPN. ExpressVPN doesn't log your activity online. They even developed a technology, Trusted Server, that makes their VPN servers incapable of storing any data at all. They should have just called it Vinny's brain, really. This is what I would have gone with. I actually use ExpressVPN. Their next bullet point here is speed, and I don't need to read it because actually I use ExpressVPN, and I'm going to say their speeds are great. They're actually pretty fast. I hardly even notice when I have it turned on. That is a legitimate personal endorsement there, ExpressVPN. Also, it's easy to use. You just click the button when you have it installed, turns on your VPN, and finds a location for you. I use it a lot when I'm traveling, especially in hotels. You can protect yourself with the VPN that I personally have used for years. Use our link, expressvpn.com/Nextlander today and get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/Nextlander. Visit expressvpn.com/Nextlander to learn more. Thanks, ExpressVPN. We are back, and we got more games, and another one of those games is Indika.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't remember what Indika is, it is the stylistic nun demon devil game.
Stylish nun action.
Stylish nun action.
Get thee away from the nunnery.
It takes place in some weird alternative Russia-esque,
like a steampunk turn of the 20th century Russia.
It is super duper stylish.
Oh yeah,
and you play as Indika, the titular character. She is a nun, a young nun in a convent of, I don't know, bad old nuns,
extremely stern and taciturn nuns.
And you kind of go on a little road trip throughout this steampunky Russia, and it's fairly short. I finished it. I really enjoyed it.
How many hours would you say?
How many hours would I say? Probably not more than 5.
Okay, that's about what I was expecting going into it. It seemed like a game that was very, extremely vibes based, and that is so far proven to be true in the final game. to also not that worried about trying to make it into a long, sprawling experience.
Yeah, I can check my time played, but it's probably not more than 5. And it probably also depends on how long you take on the puzzles. Some of them, let's see, time played, I beat it in under 4. So,
okay.
Yeah. Some of the puzzles took a little longer than others. Some went pretty quickly. So yeah,
some of the
pretty
puzzle
short.
design seems a little funky in places.
Could be funky.
Yeah.
It's $25. There are a decent amount of them. It's not kind of like like we talked about Harold Halibut, which was very much a vibes-based walking around talking to people game. This is direct control, running around the environment. Brad, you're making a squinty face.
Scrolling through the screenshots.
Yeah.
Have they added new screenshots to Steam since that demo came out? Because there's
have.
just a bunch of like straight up pixel art looking stuff in here that I definitely do not remember. Like the thing not to cut you off, but
no, by all means.
The thing I've been waiting for is to hear, is there some weird swerve in this game because of those 8-bit menus that were in the demo and stuff? I'm like, I don't know what this pixel art. It looks like some side scrolling or overhead looking stuff.
So there is that stuff in the game.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it a swerve. It's used for a purpose. In the game.
In fact, I think the game opens with your character in the pixel art form, like having a daydream or vision or something, right?
Interesting.
Yes.
Is it just totally anachronistic? It's not like you're in some Animus or something, right?
I'm not going to say one way or the other.
I think that's
it's like, under 4-hour game. I think it is super cool to journey through.
The character is daydreaming in a style that would not exist for a century.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, they're definitely poking at you with some, like, video game conventions that it sees as, like, for instance, one of the opening bits in that game is you just walking back and forth and delivering buckets of water to a barrel, and then as soon as you finish, the head nun walks out and then dumps the barrel out in front of you. And then the next tooltip is just like, don't worry about collecting points. They're pointless.
Huh.
So there's a lot of like pointless labor and task stuff that seems like it's part of that game's gag.
It's a game with a message.
Yeah.
It is a game with a message. You have an upgrade tree. You can collect experience points during the game, whether you want to or not. That's up to the player.
Is that message don't talk to the devil?
That message is basically a conversation, an ongoing philosophical, mostly conversation on the state of faith, I think. And free choice. And I actually found it to be quite an interesting dialogue and back and forth on it. It doesn't feel like it's up its own ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little up its own ass, but I think in a way that feels like it is actually gesturing towards something and not just doing it for shits and giggles.
It like didn't have the like college room or high school basement on weed discussion about like, man, what is free choice?
It is called
right?
Indika, to be fair.
But it has a little more tooth than that, and I actually kind of liked it.
It feels like someone who grew up in a fairly, like fundamentalist, stern religious upbringing and has spent his ensuing years picking that apart and thinking about it and wanting to find ways to express that in his art. And I don't know, I don't know anything about the lead writer or director on this, but it feels like he's pulling from some shit that he has in one way or another experienced.
Like one of the interesting themes in it that they go back and forth on and discuss is like, okay, when it comes in terms of like worshiping God, right? And God made humans have free choice, right? Is it really a free choice to worship a god if the punishment is going to hell? Like, is that really free choice, or are you kind of forcing people to worship you because of a punishment? Which is like a theme throughout this game of, are you really choosing, or are you kind of have to love this thing and do this thing because what is choice? And I think that's a big theme throughout it. And I think it wraps up really interestingly, and takes its time but doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
Like it's not drawn out, but there are kind of long scenes where you're just walking and talking. But the game is fairly short, so it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
At $25, know that going in, it's a under 4-hour game ish. Not a lot of replay value there, but I think I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and there's a certain panache to it that I feel like even a lot of these other kind of games like this, because I'd say like the thing I would align it closest to in terms of like mechanics and how you play it is something like a Plague Tale. It's a lot of walking around. It's very light on things like combat and like puzzle solving. It's more just like touching stuff in the environment and moving things around. With the exception of those weird like prayer moments with the devil. But the thing that it gets at, and I think the thing that really makes it stand out, is that there is a real directorial style to it.
Yes.
Like the way they start messing around with camera angles and sort of the way they present scenes, the way that like even just in one of those opening shots when they are just like doing that kind of like fake front cam on the main character as she's kind of like going through the motions of one of her visions.
Like camera on a stick attached to your head.
Yeah, it's like stuff that is totally unnecessary in a video game because you're not using a real camera, but they're deploying it in a way that feels like, oh, this stands out. This doesn't just look like a video game cutscene as I normally know it.
Also, I think the voice acting is phenomenal.
It's very good.
It's really good. I think the performances are pretty good all around. I think Indika is a really interesting character to inhabit and inhabit.
And they make the devil into something that is like not oppressive. Like he's there a lot and he's always teasing you and kind of taunting you about different things, but like the performance of it isn't obnoxious. Like they aren't just absolutely hammering you over the head with this like trickster demon voice in your head all the time. Like it feels like they are deploying it in a very smart and thoughtful way.
Yeah, it's really good. I would say if you feel like the price is okay for entry, definitely check it out. Like again, it's $25. I don't think it's on any of the Game Passes or PSN Plus.
I don't believe so either.
I haven't seen it. It is on consoles, but I played it on PC. Highly recommended for a short, though maybe a little pricey experience, but I found it worth the barrier to entry.
I don't think $25 is too much to ask for something like this because it actually has pretty good production value overall.
It's memorable. Like it's a very memorable game, and like I said, I feel like I've got a pretty sensitive meter for like philosophical bullshit games.
Yeah,
and it didn't trip me up too much. I actually really liked it. Again, I really liked Indika as a character. That is Indika, None on the Run. Let's see, Brad. What is Minishoot Adventures?
It's like if somebody made Link to the Past except a dual joystick shooter.
Oh.
Okay.
Which is rad.
Okay. Tell me more.
I have not played a lot of it. I was just reminded this morning that it exists. I think it came out about a month ago.
Okay.
I had seen it and forgotten about it, and then somebody on the Discord tipped me off, and I was like, oh, right, I should check that out. So I've not played a lot of it, but also I'm almost through the first dungeon. I mean, it is like, you look at the screenshots, you can see how Zelda-like it is, right?
Well, you're in a ship?
Like except you are straight up a ship. Like, I find it hilarious. They didn't even bother with the pretense of saying, like, you're a dude with a magic wand and you spin around and shoot stuff. You're in a Zelda-looking fantasy land that you were exploring, but you're a literal spaceship. Like, you look like a Geometry Wars ship or something.
And from these screenshots, it's not like you always have forward momentum or anything. You're just
no.
You're just moving around.
You control like a character. Like, you're shaped like a flying machine, but you just move around like you're on foot. And in fact, if the first time you fall in a hole, an achievement pops that says, like, can't even fly or something like that.
This screenshots or the video I'm watching looks like a lot of bullet hell too.
It's pretty bullet hell. When you start, they hit you with difficulty levels. I played on normal, and even normal I think is reasonably challenging. But there's an easy, and there's also like auto aim options.
Interesting.
So you can just play this and have it kind of help you out if you want. But it's very tight. The controls are very good. The bullet hell is pretty challenging. Like, nice upgrade mechanic. They do a cool thing. This is super minor UI, but the like XP meter in the top left kind of looks like a jar. Or the experience drops as like little shards of like crystals or whatever. You see those like piling up in the jar in a way that looks physical.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like, it's just it's a weirdly satisfying little UI touch.
Look like little balls in a crystal. Like little.
Yeah, and then there's a skill tree where you're unlocking like better range, higher damage, faster fire rates. I've gotten two kinds of sprint. I've gotten like a sprint, like speed up, and also like a dash that'll dash you over like holes, like gaps, which are both on the same button. I haven't figured out how to like toggle between those yet, but it's very simple. But like, it gets going immediately and like just moves. Like, it's very breezy.
Do you know if is it a Zelda-like in that you need to get the raft to get to the next dungeon,
kinda, yeah. Like getting the dash allowed me to move on to an area I couldn't get to before. I haven't got any like items, nothing like a raft or a boomerang yet. It's all been like abilities that are core to the ship, like the dash.
Okay, so the skill tree upgrades.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, they manifest as pickups in the world, like you would get a boomerang, but I don't know if you get like actual other items. Like some of the footage on the Steam trailer makes it look like it gets pretty crazy toward the end. I definitely have not seen any bullet hell of that magnitude yet.
How's the music?
Music's fine. It's pretty good. The sound design is excellent. Like there's just something really delightful and pleasant and lighthearted about all the sound design. And it looks nice. Cool. You know, it looks kind of a mobile game look to it, but not in a bad way.
Minishoot, is it Minishootin' or Minishoot?
I don't know why the apostrophe is at the end of Minishoot.
Okay.
Minishoot Adventures. It's only on Steam as far as I can tell. Like I don't normally say this, but I really wish there was like a Switch release. I don't have a Steam Deck. But this very much feels like a game that it would be nice to fire up on like an airplane trip or something. So hopefully they're doing a Switch version at some point.
You should get a Steam Deck.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Steam Deck too.
It's pretty good.
$15. Minishoot.
Minishoot. It's a Minishoot.
Maybe I'll wait and play it on Switch next model.
Yes, there you go. I played a bunch of Stardew Valley, and there's not a lot to say here because you guys all know what Stardew Valley is, but I was looking for a new game to play with the kids. Stardew Valley co-op mode. You guys ever get deep into Stardew Valley?
No.
Brad?
No, definitely not.
No?
Nope.
We should start a farm.
My partner played it for a while. She didn't end up loving it, even though she likes farming games for some reason. It just didn't really hit her, so I never really tried much of it.
I played it before previously, got fairly deep in, not too far, but playing with the kids is pretty fun. We decided to do pooled money. You can choose to do pooled money or independent wallets. We decided to do pooled money. Some of the stuff in the co-op is a little tough because you don't share upgrades. So like when you upgrade a tool, if I'm selling all my cabbages and I just got 2,000 golds and my son is like, can I use that to go upgrade my shovel?
I don't know, man. I'm the one who harvested those cabbages.
It was my fault. I sold those cabbages.
Yeah, man.
You've been fishing all day. You're just fishing. So some of that stuff, I do wish some of those were shared. I mean, look, you would think 3 people making $2,000 a turn here would be the same as one pooled resource, right? But my cabbages take a long time to grow. He's fishing every day, so there's a steady income there. It works out. Stardew Valley, not too much new to say there. They still have the dungeons and all that stuff.
It's still that game.
It's still that game, though. I guess that it just got an update not too long ago. I forget exactly what got updated in it, but
yeah, he still continues to pour content into that thing despite having made like a fucking $1 billion on it now.
It's a game I think I'm gonna keep going because it's a fun game to play. Split screen co-op with the kids.
It is interesting. Yeah. I was gonna ask if there was any kind of online co-op, but I guess not.
There is also.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. You can do online or split screen. I don't know if it's cross-platform co-op or between Steam versions, because that thing came out on everything, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's between versions. It's on Game Pass, so that's where we were playing it. So we're just playing local co-op on the Xbox. And now with, big TVs, split screen co-op isn't so bad, especially for a game like this where it's not, a lot of stuff on screen at one time. So it all works out, having a good time. In our farm.
Family that farms together.
Yep.
Harms together is all I got.
I don't know where
really make a lot of sense.
Blarms together is the word you were looking for. Blarms together. What's up? Speaking of Blarman, what's up, Balatro? What's up with
Balarmtro?
Balarmtro.
That's terrible. They fixed it, or rather, they changed it.
Okay, what was broken?
Nothing was really broken, but they've totally redone the last couple of difficulty levels in that game.
I think this is. Sorry, I'm sorry. I think this is the first new update, or the first update since it came out, right?
First major update, yeah.
First balance patch. Sorry.
So a lot of them are pretty minor. It's a lot of like, hey, we took a Joker and we reduced the mult by 1 here or added 1 by here. They changed a couple of Jokers to be fairly different from what they were, though they were mostly the ones that I was definitely not using. So and I would imagine some of that was just based on player feedback. But
and Jokers being the modifier cards during your run. Yeah.
But so the difficulty level thing is pretty significant because before, basically, there was just a big chip ramp at the end that you needed to clear, and then also they just started making the packs in the store more expensive as you would go from turn to turn. So instead, what they have done now is they've added 2 new types of problematic Jokers, is how I would describe them. One is rentals.
What did these Jokers say?
These Jokers are canceled. One is a rental Joker, which costs you 3 chips or $3 basically at the end of every round. And the others are expiring Jokers, which after 5 uses essentially become debuffed. You can still sell them and get money for them, but they essentially stop working after that point.
Hang on, are those modifiers on existing Jokers that can be applied to any Joker? Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it's similar to like the permanent Jokers, which were also there as part of the difficulty ramp, but they've just added different varieties of those.
And when you unlock a type of Joker, I haven't played a bunch of Balatro, but when you unlock a type of one, that just means it's available to get in a run, right?
Yes, it is it is in the run submission possibilities.
Got it. Okay. Like the draw pile.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So how does that feel as a game changer to you?
Much better, because so I had gotten all the way up to the last difficulty level, and I had not beaten it in its original form on one deck. I still have not beaten it on the new final difficulty, but it feels a lot more doable than it was before, where it literally just felt like the chip ramp and my ability to get power-ups had just kind of trailed off unless I was going to go for a really hyper-specific, like, big build. Now it feels a little bit more like you can still kind of luck your way into a victory in the final difficulty, but it's still hard.
Okay. Has the sentiment been like, they made baby Balatro? Or like...
No, I don't think.
Okay,
I mean, not that I'm sitting there reading the Balatro forums very often, because I don't need to live my life that way. But I will say, for my part, I was pretty relieved by that particular change. Whatever they did to some of the Jokers or others, it's like, yeah, okay, they nerfed a Joker that I like, but who cares? It's not really the end of the world. There's a million of these things. I can find some other builds, but I think they're smart changes, and it shows a willingness to kind of look at it and say, like, yes, the thing I launched was very successful out of the gate, but I can still tweak it. Sure.
Tweaking your launch. Sometimes it goes well. We'll get to it in the news. Sometimes it doesn't go all that well.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this update. I kind of put it down once I saw this patch had been submitted. It hasn't rolled out on consoles yet, but the game rules.
Yeah, it's really good.
Not much I can add to what's been said over the months here, but man, it's awesome.
There's very little to say about it beyond what has already been said about it. Just that the updates are strong, and that game is still ruinous.
Yeah, and it taught me the hands of poker.
I was just going to ask you, Brad.
You had mentioned has ever managed to do before.
We didn't talk about it last time, but you had expressed some trepidation because you weren't familiar with poker. Do you find it doesn't matter?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't matter. I mean, it's not that you can't learn the hands of poker. I've just never cared enough to learn because I just don't care about playing poker.
No, I get
it. But the cheat sheet is right there at all times. I mean, all times, not even just in the middle of a, what do you want to call it, an ante, whenever you're in a match. Like, even when you're like buying upgrades, like pretty much any time you can hit that button and just get the fat list of like, here's all of them and here's how they rank against each other and stuff. And so you just learn them in line pretty quickly as you're playing.
Yeah.
What if I told you, Brad, that 2 of those hands are wrong in Balatro?
Wait, what?
No, I'm just kidding.
Which ones?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
He's messing with you.
Yeah, I'm messing.
They're all fine.
And it's up to you to find out which ones are wrong.
I mean, they do invent a couple of hands that don't exist just by virtue of them adding and changing card dynamics as you go along. So, like, the idea of a flush house does not exist in real poker, because if you did, you would be shot.
You're not walking away from that table.
Some old-timey fucking prospector is going to put a bullet between your eyes if you try to play that at a table.
Don't splash the chips.
Yeah.
And no flush houses. All right. Balatro, still a game, still out there, still making changes.
A threat.
Still a threat, still popular. Speaking of still a game, still out there, still eating up the time, it's time for the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth check-in.
All right.
Now, the last time you checked in with Caravella, he was deep in the jungles of
Gongaga.
Ready
Isn't that where the Phantom's from?
Yeah, probably. Throw Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in the garbage. I'm out.
Harsh.
I did it. I got out by hell or high water. Didn't look back. Finished up everything in there in a new region. Halfway through the next region, they did some things in the story which made my eyebrows raise. But I don't think you're there yet. So when you're there, we could talk about it. And Chadley said to me, old Chadsworth said to me,
and Chadley said unto you,
said something like, "Wow, great job, Final Fantasy player. You've only got one more region to do." And I was like, "Hot damn, Chadley, we're gonna get that intel on top of I think the one I'm doing. Like we're almost there with all of Rebirth's intel. You've almost done it."
So how many
75
maps?
hours.
How many maps is that at this point?
Is this my fourth or fifth?
Okay.
I can't remember exactly. Look, it's been a lot of combat scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of count them by summons. Like how many summons I got. Phoenix. I got Alexander. I won't name who I have now. Is it 3, 4? I think this is 5. I think this might be the 5th.
Okay.
Yeah. So look, I'm back in. Oh, it's only 2 more regions. That's nothing.
Knock those. Do that in your sleep.
Knock those out. There is a thing I am not looking forward to, which I've read kind of nightmare stories about. And having to deal with the proto relic. They split a proto relic quest and said, you're going to have to come back later and do this. And on the first half of it, I was having some trouble, and it seemed like there was a lot of frustration with the second half of that one.
Ew.
And I'm not looking forward to it. It has to do with the cactuar. And I'm not looking forward to trying to get the gold medal or whatever it is in that one. Because I'm still... As much as I say when I enter anything, I'm like, it's just going to be, you know what? I'm never going to use the, super chocobo bangle or whatever I'm going to get from this thing. It's not part of my build. Why do I even care? And then I wind up being like, I'll give it 2 more tries. One more try after that. I was really close that time. I'll just give it another try. And I wind up going until I get the
I don't know. I don't know why that's such an impossible lesson to learn, because I definitely learned it coming out of Remake, where I was like, at the end of Remake, I mean, frankly, I learn it every time I play through an entire JRPG, start to finish.
Yeah.
It's the classic X potion problem, It's like I finished this game with 87 X potions. I should have been using those. I don't use any of this shit. And yet it's impossible. It's impossible to resist getting everything, even though you're not going to use it.
Much materia. So much materia. I wish there were a way to combine materia into other materia.
Just about to say, I wish there was some kind of combine mechanic, even though that would not be faithful to the original game.
Or you should just be able to, you should find someone who can take 2 level 1 materias and make them a level 2 materia or something. But maybe that would break, since I also have so much gil that I could just wind up buying the materia and just wind up with like a cure level 3 immediately instead of having to.
Would that be the worst thing?
Yeah.
Would you call yourself a materia girl?
Yes, I need. Yes, I need a materia girl.
Mm-hmm.
I have my party I use, and I don't change it unless I need to. I have still using my same Queen's Blood deck that I've been using pretty much the entire game. Though I think I'm ready to go check out another guide and be like, all right, what's a mid to late game deck here that because I don't feel like figuring it out on my own. What are people using here in the mid to late game? I looked up some things because I have so much gear, materia, whatever that I'm not using. I was like, I'm gonna look up some guides for party loadouts and like what's a good way to use this party. Holy cow, man! There's a lot of really deep, because of all the variables that can go into a party.
with the synergy attacks and synergy skills. They added so many different combinations now.
Who's using what? Like right now, I think I've got Barret as my main spellcaster with like a Cloud almost on autopilot and Tifa, you know.
I've also, in both games, really ended up rolling with Barret as a heavy magic.
He can build up ATB really quickly with that that gun. He's casting haste. He's out there doing it. Yeah, I'm still in it. I don't know.
Thrilled.
It's long, man. It's
JRPG, man.
It feels like 75 hours. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I put 75 hours.
Glowing praise.
It did not go by quickly. It did not go by in the blink of an eye. I have felt
it did not go by willingly.
It is definitely at a point. I'm not saying I am forcing myself to finish it.
Kind of sounds like you are.
I want to do it. I just wish some of it would. Okay, here's what I want to express. Doing all of these various things are what I really enjoyed about this game. I don't know if not doing those things, I would actually just enjoy doing the main story, like like mainlining it.
Sure.
So,
like the main plot is not good enough in and of itself.
I think so. I think just the main combat and just mainlining that main story. I don't know if I would be. I really enjoyed doing all these side things and clearing out the checklist. So if I took that out of it, I don't know if I want to keep going. Like I don't know if I think so. That's where I think maybe I just need a little break or something, but now I have a second win because I'm so close. I can see the bottom of the checklist almost. It's there, and that's motivation enough. What's going to happen when I get to the bottom of that checklist, Brad? Am I going to get some kind of lifetime achievement award? Is somebody going to knock on my door and say, "You did it. You've done it"?
No, I think.
Well, you're a citizen now. I think you've earned your right to vote. No.
I think what you're going to do is you're going to finish that checklist, then you're going to wait 3 years, and they're going to give you a new checklist.
Will they? I don't know. We'll check the sales on this one. Might be a smaller checklist.
Yeah.
That checklist will be.
They're going to make the third one. I'm pretty sure.
They're going to make the third one. Will the third one be an open world gargantuan checklist? I don't know.
They may have already committed to the checklist by this point, so who can say?
I don't know. We'll see where this whole one winds up. That's my Final Fantasy VII Rebirth check-in. I'm 75 hours now. 90? Think I can get this thing done in 15 more hours?
2 more full maps?
1.5. I've done a pretty. Actually, I'd say 1 1/4 because I've actually done a lot of where I am now.
If it's anything like Remake, where you think you're about to go finish the game and then it's another 6 hours or whatever, I'm going to say maybe not.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the last area is like super fast. I have no idea. I forget how many chapters, 16 or something like that. Chapters?
That might be right. I never actually looked it up because I didn't want to know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think I'm in chapter 10 now, 9 or 10. I think I just finished 9. I think I'm in 10. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll have another check-in next time soon enough. But now, unless there are any other games, I think it's time to check in with the news. And we're going to have to take a little break before we get into the news because, boy howdy.
Ugh.
There's some news coming up, so stick around. We'll be right back. This week's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Brad Shoemaker, Alex Navarro. I like money.
Okay.
It's there. That's why
I don't, but I understand its necessity.
It's useful. In certain circumstances, it's useful. And when you need it, you need it. Rocket Money is there to help you save some money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. We all know there's only one subscription you need, and that's to our Patreon. You should go check it out. Everything else, let Rocket Money go sift through it all, tell you what you're not using. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Nextlander. That's rocketmoney.com/Nextlander. rocketmoney.com/Nextlander. Thanks, Rocket Money. All right, we are back, and we're going to kick things off with the news here. Brad Shoemaker, a lot of big Microsoft news.
Yes, should we just roll all the closures into one story here?
Let's do it.
The Take-Two stuff actually happened first last week.
Let's start with Take-Two.
But the Microsoft stuff obviously is pretty high profile.
Well, let's start with Take-Two because I feel like it is not as broad a story.
Like, we're really in it now with studio closures,
Yeah.
layoffs and stuff. I mean, no disrespect to studios that have already been shut down this year and stuff. Like, those obviously were also highly unfortunate. But I guess like the names is what I mean. Like, the names you hear getting closed down now are like, wait, what the fuck? Like, what? How could you do that?
Like, that Embracer stuff was pretty severe.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And like Sony shut down, was it Firesprite, I think? Like studios have been getting shut down.
Yeah.
In addition to all the layoffs, but these are some fairly big ones. Take-Two last week shut down Roll7, who is the Ollie Ollie developer.
Mm-hmm.
Also made Rollerdrome. Anything else, Alex? You're into their stuff.
Those are the
right?
ones I knew the best. Was
Yeah.
I mean, I played a lot of Ollie Ollie World, and I played more of Rollerdrome than maybe I actually liked Rollerdrome. I just kept playing it.
Yeah, I like that game. Okay,
It was pretty okay.
And what is the name of the current Kerbal 2 developer? Is it Intercept Games? Which, like, I was not familiar with that name, but that is the effing studio making Kerbal Space Program 2, or was.
Yeah, which is still not out yet.
No, it's still in early access.
I mean, that
and
is
also a different team from the team that originally made Kerbal Space Program.
Yes, the fact that it's in early access is a whole thing, right? And like,
Yeah.
you go to their subreddit, like right now, I went this morning and looked, and there's a whole lot of people going like, is this game dead?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are we just, like, I literally saw people saying, like, I think we're just going to have to take the L on this one.
Like,
Like,
what?
we're probably not getting our money back or a finished game at this point.
So what did Brad? I guess my question to you, and having read this article on Games Industry Biz, so these are two studios under Private Division. Do you know what's going on with Private Division?
It sounds like Private Division also had layoffs. I don't know what that means. Probably in the publishing administrative area.
Okay.
What I mean is, I don't know what it means in terms of how that affects their operations. I don't think they said what
Like
roles were being cut there.
Okay, so like Private Division is still, as far as we can tell, still a thing. Not like they're shuttering Private Division.
It is still an existing entity, yes.
Yeah, it's going to keep going as far as I know. Yeah, they're putting out Tales of the Shire, that new Lord of the Rings, that new Hobbit like life sim
Okay.
that just got announced, and they just put out No Rest for the Wicked from Moon Studios. Like, they're still doing stuff for sure.
Okay.
The big one to me in this context is what the hell happens to Kerbal, because they've been selling that game. They are taking money for it.
Yeah.
You can go buy it right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I maybe wouldn't right now until some of this stuff clarifies itself, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they put out a very corporate boilerplate statement about cost reduction program, identify efficiencies, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
rationalizing its pipeline, eliminating several projects. I'm just throwing out phrases here.
Yeah.
But yes, they are cutting jobs. The company is not providing additional details on this program. And then they go on to say, like, hey, we just put out No Rest for the Wicked. The label continues to make updates to Kerbal Space Program 2. Really?
Like, yeah, who is doing that? I
Like,
don't
is
know.
that a situation where it's like they're literally just taking updates that were already done or close to done?
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at the Steam page. Like, the Kerbal had the creative director posted a roadmap update like 2 weeks ago or something, a week and a half. So like they were working on it right up until this, it seems. Anyway, that was last week, and then things really hit the fan yesterday. Speaking of working on content right up until they got shut down, Microsoft has closed Arkane Austin and the entirety of Tango Gameworks.
Yeah,
both part of Bethesda. They were both part of the Bethesda acquisition.
Right.
Like, they were a pretty significant chunk of the Bethesda studio family. Pretty unceremoniously just gone now.
Yeah.
So this Arkane Austin, the Redfall team,
Yeah.
Tango, Hi-Fi Rush, and now it's unclear in this article, or at least in the reporting so far. The official word is that we will have, I think it was like, quote, a small number of layoffs. There's more here. There's more with studios getting moved around.
Actually,
and remixed.
I shouldn't bury the whole lead here, because they're also shutting down Alpha Dog Games, who made that Mighty Doom mobile game, which apparently they're like issuing refunds for Mighty Doom currency that people bought. From what I saw, I mean, there's more on that with Arkane that we'll get to. Gosh, what was the other? Roundhouse Studios. Roundhouse Studios is not being shut down as such. It's being absorbed into ZeniMax Online Studios, which makes Elder Scrolls Online.
And Roundhouse is the ex-Human Head folks, right?
No,
I think that's what it was. I couldn't find out when I looked up what Roundhouse was. The thing that came up was Human Head, because I wasn't sure what Roundhouse had been up to.
Roundhouse apparently worked on Redfall, but it does not look like they have maybe necessarily produced anything else. But it is, in fact, a continuation of Human Head Studios.
I didn't realize. Okay, yes, you're right. It is the former Human Head. I didn't realize they had formed under ZeniMax.
Yeah, look, we need flowcharts at this point for a lot of this stuff. So, according to the reporting, the official word is there will be layoffs. We don't know how many there will be in this.
Yeah, I mean, presumably pretty much everybody at Tango and Arkane Austin are just gone.
Well, some of it made it sound like they are reshuffling and moving around other people and reabsorbing to, I don't know, what
well, they may be offering some people positions elsewhere within other teams at Microsoft and Bethesda, but these entities, as we know them, are essentially not going to exist.
The studios. Yeah, and that could be just making reference to the Roundhouse absorption.
Right.
Into ZeniMax Online, because that would be a very easy way to point to that and say, hey, we're retaining some people.
Right.
Because that is happening, but I haven't seen any evidence that anybody at Arkane or Tango is keeping their job.
I think the thing that really, I mean, look, again, we've said this before, this is an ongoing concern. This is a repeated story we're hearing over and over again, studios closing, people getting laid off. This is not new. But the thing that really makes these particular studio closures stand out to me is that Microsoft was just hyping up what Tango was doing. Like, Hi-Fi Rush, I know, was not a huge seller, but they were willing to go to the trouble of putting that game out on other platforms to try to make it a better seller. They went to the trouble of promoting the guy who directed that game to the head of the studio, and now they're just closing it all down. Arkane Austin, look, Redfall did not go well by any measure, a reasonable measure, but they made Prey not that long ago. That was 7 years ago. And so it's like one bad game, and suddenly it's like you are now expendable.
Or in the case of Tango, one good game and you're still gone.
One not good enough game, apparently, sales-wise at least.
It's like, I mean, Microsoft has just got a problem getting games out, and especially like new IP. You know, like Hi-Fi Rush was like beloved. It was super cool. It was very well executed. Like, sales aside, and you can't even really knock it for the sales because it debuted on Game Pass, right? Like,
yeah.
It was only out on platforms that have Game Pass when it came out. Of course, it didn't sell well. Everybody played it on Game Pass. But, like, that thing feels like it has all the hallmarks of the thing that Microsoft is missing right now, which is interesting new games based on new IP.
And especially interesting new games that aren't the ones that cost, $1 billion and 7 years of development to make.
It's a very weird thing. Like, why? I think a lot of people are asking, like, why do you buy Tango? Did you buy Tango?
Bethesda bought Tango.
Well,
but it came with Bethesda.
Yeah, but that was all just a giant package deal. They wanted Bethesda Game Studios and id mostly, and Arkane. Well, Arkane as well. Like,
and Arkane, but like
they all had value. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sure the Microsoft bean counters were 90% looking at Bethesda Game Studios and a little bit at id, and you know what I mean?
Well, I think also you get Tango, maybe you're hoping that there's some penetration into like Eastern markets, because like they're very Western focused, Bethesda, right? So like hopefully you get some penetration there. But I don't know if Hi-Fi Rush was that game, but it was a game that was critically acclaimed. And like you said, Alex, they went on to Microsoft themselves went on to go say how awesome this is. And because people were like, oh, maybe it wasn't a big earner. And they were like, no, actually, no, this one. And it's one of the ones they put on other platforms.
like Aaron Greenberg was out there talking that game up, all kinds of business, like not that long ago, because of this pushing it out on other platforms and talking about how like, it was one of their favorite things that they put out recently. And it's just like, I understand business decisions probably come from above the people who are out there doing this promotional work and are talking about these games, but it's just like, the point I was trying to get to before really was just that like in previous years, in previous like recessions, economic downturns, problems in the industry, these are still the kinds of studios that would nonetheless survive. They might scale down operations, things might change, but you would keep these studios around because there is a degree of prestige and there is a lot of talent in those pools that you just want to have around in case of something. I can't think of a time in history when studios like this were on the chopping block, especially in the wake of something like this giant acquisition they just did with Activision Blizzard and the profits that Microsoft is putting in right now.
Right. Like, and look, it's hard to imagine if some of these, well, Redfall aside, like would they be studio sinkers, right? Like would they be things that didn't make enough money to cover the cost of an operating for the next game? I mean, maybe borrowing money is that expensive. What it seems like to me from some of this reporting and beyond is that, and we've talked about this before, is like Microsoft is, you just mentioned it, Brad, getting games out, is having some kind of crisis here. And there's an article in Kotaku about, hey, maybe we should reevaluate what the hell is going on with Phil Spencer's leadership at Microsoft.
Yeah, I feel like the pitchforks are starting. I mean, people are angry justifiably, but I feel like the pitchforks are starting to come out for the Phil Spencer era. I mean, at this point, like they have had such a problem just shipping games for so long now.
I really hesitate to make this comparison because it's definitely not apples to apples, but there is an element here that is familiar to me in the way, and apologies for making this particular analogy, but there's similarities in the way that people looked past a lot of problems with, let's say, AEW. A company
it's a wrestling analogy.
Yeah, a company that a lot of people really put a lot of faith in because the people running it were people that spoke and talked about and liked the things that they like. They are, Tony Khan, billionaire son, obviously very different situation, founding a company like that, but he got his start in the same fandom and with the same interests as a lot of the other people that were dissatisfied with what WWE was doing. Phil Spencer has made a lot of hay on the fact that he is a gamer. And Phil Spencer worked his way up in this industry. He is a guy who did a lot of the on-the-ground work before he became, the CEO of this gaming division. But you have to admit, a lot of what we have given a pass with him, I think, is mostly due to the fact that we like him and understand him because he is a person who presents very much as someone who plays video games a lot. But as a business person, he has not really delivered a different Xbox, or at least an Xbox that has recovered from where they were.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is multifaceted because they've like I said, they've just had a problem getting games out.
Yeah.
Like, even games in their storied franchises like Halo and Forza and Gears and stuff, let alone new franchises that are like durable enough to carry into the future. The other problem that seems to be emerging is he made two bets, right? Like he made bets on Game Pass and on xCloud, on like streaming, right? Like those were the big bets he has placed as like the defining characteristics of his time running Xbox. It seems like neither of those bets is going to pay off.
Yeah.
The way things currently stand. Like Game Pass growth has been completely flat for like 2 years now or something.
Minimum of a year and a half, yeah.
And xCloud, like streaming, it's like a nice to have feature. They seem to have done a pretty good job with it, but it just hasn't. That also has not set the world on fire.
Yeah.
And now they don't have like a very strong, like steady first party output to fall back on.
They just don't have that much. They have a good console that they do not have enough games for. They have a pretty solid PC marketplace and ARM that I think at this point maybe people actually are probably flocking to a lot more than they would ever flock to any Xbox platform. And what they have is a cadre of studios of varying degrees, but largely fairly well-regarded, sort of perception, and they just haven't gotten any kind of consistent output from any of it. And look, there's a lot going on there, but it's like when you add Microsoft or Activision to this entire equation, it just feels like they're very top heavy with nothing coming out.
Yeah, especially like you look at these earnings reports that came out the last week or two, it's like overall gaming revenue is up, but like hardware sales are very down, for example.
Yeah.
Like Game Pass, as we've said, is not growing. So like that's all Activision, right? Like that's all just having bought another gigantic thing that poured a giant bucket of money into the earnings report, right? So you can kind of see how an executive would look at that and just be like, all right, fine, then just cut everything that's not working. Like we've got the golden goose now.
Yeah.
Which kind of seems like what's happening to some degree.
So look, I will give Phil Spencer credit where credit's due, definitely for taking over after Matrick, getting a hand back on the wheel for trying to steer the games division, get the car back on the road at least, to continue that bad metaphor. I think they are, whatever is going on now might be a head-on collision of a lot of things, but this acquisition, the acquisition era of Phil Spencer, does not seem to be paying the dividends. I think that on at least the game side, you would expect, right? That because they went on that buying spree. Like they have bought a lot of stuff. I have a list here. I'm just gonna run down. If I'm missing anything, fill them in, you guys. I don't remember. This is what's still inside. We got 343. You mentioned Halo Infinite, right? That's their last big one. I'm assuming that's what they've been working on. And this is post 1,900 people that were laid off in January from Xbox. They just
a lot of those were people that were part of the Activision Blizzard thing, I think.
So they had the Activision Blizzard merger. We don't know what's going on, or acquisition. Alpha Dog, which was just talked about. Arkane, which we just talked about. Austin. Bethesda Game Studios, which I assume they are just going to dump a lot of resources into at this point.
Yeah, there's all that talk coming out of the Fallout show with them not having a new Fallout game ready to go. Like,
yeah.
Or even in development, it sounds like.
Right. Like all the corporate types are like, where's a new Fallout? Why are we not capitalizing on this? So who knows how things are going to go there.
But if we just go back to releases, we had Arkane with Redfall, their last big release, and Starfield with Bethesda, which I don't think lit the world on fire as much as
it did sell reasonably well.
Probably sold, but probably not hitting internal expectations, I would guess. The Coalition, which we haven't heard from in a while, but they have Gears in the works, I assume.
The Gears thing has been percolating a lot lately. So
yeah, that's been rumored.
It's all but confirmed that Gear 6 is what they're doing and will be announced in the next month.
Compulsion Games, that's the We Happy Few people, which I don't know what they're working on.
They're doing that South of Midnight that they announced last year.
Okay. They have Double Fine, which, their last thing, Psychonauts 2. I assume they're working on something behind the scenes. The Initiative, which I think you guys maybe in the break mentioned the Perfect Dark reboot, maybe not going.
There's a bunch of talk in the last 24 hours on various podcasts and journalists that the Perfect Dark project is going very poorly.
Do we know what?
Who can say?
Do we know what id's next thing is?
No, id in the leak/documents out of the Activision hearing stuff, they had that Doom Year Zero project listed, but who knows what that is? There's zero indication if that's a full new game or if that was going to be some kind of downloadable or mobile thing. But no major project announced for them.
Machine Games is Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
Do we know what In Exile is doing?
Yeah, Clockwork Revolution, that steampunk looking
RPG,
game
right?
Yeah, they haven't. Well, it's Unreal 5, so it's got to be some big elaborate thing. I was going to say the last thing they made was Wasteland 3. Wasn't that their last game?
I think that's right.
Like that game was extremely well received. So
yeah,
okay,
they're doing pretty well over there.
We have Hellblade 2 coming from Ninja Theory. That's coming out soon.
Very soon, yeah.
Obsidian, which, they're chugging along, right?
They're making stuff.
Yeah.
Avowed
and Outer Worlds 2 are their announced games at the moment.
Playground, which is supposed to be the Fable. I assume they're still working on it.
But they also make the Forza Horizon.
They make the Forza stuff.
They're not going anywhere.
Rare, which seems to be supporting Sea of Thieves now on other platforms.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves apparently doing very well on PlayStation.
Roundhouse, we just talked about.
And Everwild also, we should say. Rare announced
somewhere it's still there.
5 years ago or something? Has it been that long?
It's been at least a few.
Trying to see when it was announced.
It's been some time.
Anyway, no idea what that game even is.
Tango, which we just talked about. Turn 10, which is also Forza. That's the main Forza.
That's the current Forza, yeah.
Undead, which is Undead Labs, which is State of Decay 3 is announced, right?
Oh yeah, that got announced fucking like way before the pandemic. Like, the thing's been in development forever.
Age of Empires, folks, that's World's Edge at this point. I don't know if they have a thing announced. Xbox Game Studios, which is Flight Simulator, and then their online stuff, which is ZeniMax Online. So they have a ton of shit. They bought a lot of stuff.
They did, and then, especially with the Bethesda stuff, they really tried to let them just kind of do their thing at their own pace. You're right. I think that the thing is, like, if they had a heavier hand, we probably would be talking about, at least a date or a possibility of a Fallout sequel somewhere in the next few years. But, it seems like their method before was, well, we bought this company, but they're successful, so let's just let them run it the way that they normally run it, but with our resources. Maybe that's changing, because now you have a lot more pieces that you have to try and make fit together and work together to create a cohesive release schedule and, cadence. And I assume that these layoffs, these studio closures, have to be a part of realizing that, like, maybe a lot of these things don't just naturally plug into each other, and we have to start figuring out what is the actual shape of our games group.
Yeah, I was reminded, not to like paint a target on Bethesda here, but I was reminded that late last year, Xbox like slid another layer of management over top of Bethesda.
And Pete Hines left, right?
Yeah, Pete Hines, he was what was he, head of publishing by the time he left? Yeah, he left last fall, but Jill Braff, who previously, or in fact still has her duties as general manager of integrations and casual games for Xbox. But the point is, she was part of Xbox already at the executive level and is now also the head of Bethesda and ZeniMax's development teams. So
was that a post Redfall like implementation?
Oh yeah. Okay. Redfall was last April, I think, wasn't it?
So
that was even post Starfield. So yes, they are making some management changes or have made some around Bethesda.
Obviously, internally, they are trying to shift around. I really hope this doesn't just mean like triple down on Fallout, triple down on. Because they're not.
It does.
Well, I would separate Fallout from like Call of Duty, for example. Like, tripling down on stuff like Call of Duty and Minecraft is like whatever. Like, I would like to see more activity around Fallout, because it's otherwise just going to sit there kind of fallow for another decade, right?
I guess. I mean, I'm just not that huge a Fallout fan, but yes, it's a thing that's in demand, will probably do well. I feel like I don't know, maybe they bought all these studios. They bought these kind of some older studios, like Bethesda's been out there making very similar games for a long time. I thought Arkane was doing some really interesting stuff. I know obviously Redfall did not pan out. Nobody can argue that Redfall launched in a state that was going to be successful. But I think, to your point, Alex, Redfall might have been a game that over time found its footing in a traditional studio, right? That was given like, hey, we need to make this work. Let's figure it out.
Man, I went to the Redfall subreddit yesterday.
Yeah.
There is nothing more depressing than going to the subreddit for a struggling live service game right around the time that it becomes clear it's truly dead.
Were people in there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it would just be dead quiet or people
posting steadily over time,
like a eulogy in there
about it. Well, I mean about updates. Like previous to the shutdown news, people have been like keeping the flame lit in there.
Oh,
like, hey, they're going to turn it around. Like the same thing happened with Anthem.
Oh, sure.
Like it's just super depressing to see people really invested in a property that the corporate types don't give a single shit about until the rug gets pulled.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, don't know exactly what the layoff numbers are. Some people are being moved around. I'm sure that news will come later, but this shift, this era for Xbox and Microsoft, and I feel like this term for Phil Spencer is going to have a real impact on his legacy at Microsoft. Like, what comes of this will, like, in the next 5 years is going to be, I think, like we were saying, maybe he's remembered for as where Xbox went
it's also like the least important thing in the grand scheme of everything we're talking about here. Like Phil Spencer's legacy is what it is, you know.
Well,
like,
and that legacy involves, studio closures and people being laid off.
And also the health of the brand, like the direction of the brand and the direction of the company. And look, again, Phil has revived some things and worked on some things and gotten some things going at Xbox that I have certainly enjoyed during his tenure. But he's like every other gaming CEO in the end. He's another person that ultimately will make the business decision no matter how brutal and how potentially damaging it might have to be. But I think anyone taking a long, hard look at his tenure now at this point is totally justified in doing so, because I don't know. I think you're talking about that metaphor earlier about, the car veering off the cliff. I think he may have grabbed the wheel when it was already in the air.
The car?
Yeah, and I think he might be spending $70 billion on a big enough clump of dirt to land on.
Could be. It could be, hopefully, it could be them hoping that clump of dirt is mobile. I don't know. This obviously, business units are different and all this stuff, but it's hard to read about studio closures and stuff and see a top line. Again, we understand that businesses are different units of what trillions of dollars in the head.
It is a multi-trillion-dollar corporation.
Not Microsoft. To say that they haven't borrowed money or taken money to do acquisitions, or maybe they've been cut off from the piggy bank. I don't know. Again, obviously, the best to everyone involved inside Microsoft as things are getting shaken up. I'm sure you guys saw the words in that story that was on the IGN story from, was it Arkane Leon's developer? Being like, basically, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, Dingo Bakaba, he is quite outspoken on Twitter these days in a way that I really appreciate.
And for my 2 cents, this is the shit I really hate about consolidation. It is one of those things that's just like, I can't sit here and say, like, look, would all these studios have been around if they weren't bought? I don't know. Like, studios do close because they run out of money. Sometimes they have to sell for shitty reasons.
Bethesda was not exactly legendary for like treating their studios great either.
No.
Yeah. So like, or maybe financial hardships, but when everything gets rolled up into one thing and the direction shifts, that can be really rough.
When the blob gets bigger, it inevitably has to slaw off pieces of itself to reshape it into something mobile again.
There you go.
It's really concerning for some other studios under this umbrella. Like, what happens if Double Fine's next thing doesn't hit?
Or doesn't get ready in enough time?
Yeah, like, what if it never even gets announced?
Like, what if Hellblade doesn't hit?
Like, is id Software expendable?
Man.
Is Ninja Theory expendable?
Is Undead Labs expendable?
I mean, if you had to ask me right now, what is probably the most expendable thing among that group? Unfortunately, I would probably say Undead Labs.
I don't say that.
We haven't heard anything about State of Emergency or State of Decay 3 in a while.
I need State of Decay 3 to be good.
I want that game to come out, and I want it to do well. I want everything to work out for that thing. It's just, it has been quiet.
Yeah, it has been a while. I feel like we're really due to see something of that game this year, hopefully. Id is the one for me, though, where it's like, dude, it's fucking id Software.
Yeah, it's id. Right.
They made Doom.
I feel like before they do anything with id, even touch id, they have to put one more thing out, right? Like something would have to come
definitively.
out. There's too much value in that brand.
Yeah, like Double Fine's kind of the same way to me, honestly. It's like, dude, you can't shut down Double Fine.
Yeah.
It's not legal.
I would have said the same thing about like half of Arkane, like I would have said the same thing probably about, I mean, look, I'm not saying that Tango Gameworks has ever had a giant hit on their hands or anything, but they make games that are well regarded, and they just put out a thing that was a critical darling.
People like Evil Within. It's not not my game, but like
reasonably well. I think Ghostwire Tokyo did not catch very well at all. But then again, Hi-Fi Rush, like they were clearly turning some things around.
And like for a long while there, people were wondering what the hell Rare was up to, right? And then Sea of Thieves, people were like, is this going to be? What's going on here with Rare?
And at first it wasn't.
Yeah, so Sea of Thieves at least seems to be healthy. I don't know the internals, but like you said, Brad, it seems to be picking up and doing pretty well. And it seems to be benefiting from a injection of new players for Sea of Thieves. So I don't know. We'll see how that all goes with Microsoft's new direction. and what happens with these studios and how many people actually wind up, looking for jobs at the end of the day here.
Has anyone checked the ticker lately to see what the current jobs lost in this current wave?
No, I was trying to find it before this. I can't remember the address anymore.
The last time I saw it, it was in the several thousands range, so I don't know where the hell it is now.
Is that just 2024?
No, I mean, that's just basically since this wave of layoffs, which has been ongoing since the end of last year, has been going.
It's got to be in the tens, no?
I would think it'd have to be at this point.
All right. Should we move on to another mess?
Yeah.
This is a different kind of mess.
I don't even know what else to say about Xbox. They've really got to show something soon.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be like, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Like if Call of Duty and Gear 6 are all they really have to talk about in a month, it's going to be rough.
Right. Because they have their Summer Games Fest thing, right? In about a month. Yeah. I agree. And I don't know what they show.
I mean, hopefully some of these games are ready. Like if they show State of Decay 3 and Everwild and South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution.
I just feel like the current confidence is very low.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they need to show some games, and those games need to look good.
We
need to see Fable being played.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real. I've had these dark visions recently of maybe the single saddest game summer in human history for this year. Like every time I imagine what Summer Games Fest actually looks like and what, not just Microsoft, I'm talking about like everybody, what is actually on the table for this thing this year. It's like when they pull back the red curtain in Twin Peaks and it's just nothing but blackness and a horse. Like it's the fucking void, man. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I would love to be fucking surprised, but I have never had these sorts of grim portents. Like that dark feeling coming into like a June like this.
I mean, the problem there is that the downstream effects of this massive bloodletting are such that it's only going to get worse, right?
Yeah.
Like next 2025 Summer Game Fest is going to be even worse because even fewer people are going to be working in the games business at that point.
Yeah.
Well, you got a lot of, I think you've said this a lot, Alex, the middle is cut out, right? So you still get a decent bunch of indies coming out on the regular, really good games. Indika is a good example of something.
The ones that can get funding, though, is the thing, because even you're hearing in those spaces, too, funding is not where it needs to be right now for even those games.
Yeah. And like, I think for us, we're not in the big mobile scene where there's probably where the growth gets reported all the time of like, oh, mobile games still growing, still a great business. That's not where I spend my time playing games. And I also don't want just 3 AAA games a year. Like that's not how I want to spend my time either. Though I guess if you listen to the first half of this podcast, it seems like I've spent my time playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for all of 2024.
I mean, it's just long. That's really the only commentary there. It's just long.
Yeah. All right. The other game I have spent a bunch of time playing is in Helldivers. A game that I was happy to see come out, be good, have the development team have a voice in trying to fix what was a very shaky launch, getting out there, winning the hearts and minds of the people as they got out there and tried to get the servers stable, battling the negative Steam reviews and trying to make good as they do balance changes and all the things that go on with the live service games. But now, have they met their biggest foe? Brad Shoemaker.
Trying to figure out how to continue this metaphor. All I've got to say is that Sony's, I mean, this kind of actually descends from all the crazy changes in the business, right? Like Sony's attempts to expand onto other platforms, a bit clumsy at times, let's say. Apparently this was there at launch, and I think just nobody took notice of it, and they didn't enforce it because they didn't have the server capacity to do so. But since Helldivers 2 came out, apparently there was wording on the Steam page that you were supposed to make a PlayStation Network account in order to play it online and link that to your Steam account. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it's like to have to log into your EA account or your Rockstar account or whatever on a Steam game, Ubisoft.
I thought I did have to do that, but maybe it was skippable. I
think
really
it must have been. I mean, that's what they say here is that I think I did too because I already have an account and I was like, I want to play this cross-play, even though cross-play and cross-save still are not. Or sorry, cross-play is, but cross-save is not.
And I remember when I signed up for my kid, I remember being like, oh, right, I got to get his PlayStation info. And I wonder if he'll be able to play because he doesn't have PlayStation Plus. And like, will this be a thing? And the whole business. So yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I think that I thought it was in there already, but maybe it was skippable.
Yeah, it was in there, but optional, I believe, is the case. But Sony just kind of arbitrarily decided to start, and well, they didn't start enforcing that requirement, but they made it clear that very shortly they will.
Very shortly.
Like a month, I think. They gave people like roughly a month of notice. It did not go well for them.
No.
Like, I feel like I barely even need to explain what's going on with the story because it feels like all anybody talked about all weekend until the Xbox closure stuff happened. Like, bombarded with negative user reviews like I have never seen in the like 200,000s of reviews.
It was really intense and really fast.
You should check out the Kerbal 2 page again.
Like, well, literally over, like, people who track Steam stats were putting out graphs showing like, like no game has ever received this many negative reviews in this short a time by like a factor of 10.
Yeah, so to be clear on this, Sony was saying, I think it was by the end of May, if you did not link your or make a PlayStation account, you would not be able to play this online. There are plenty of people who play on Steam who are like, hell no, I don't have a PlayStation account and I don't want to make a PlayStation account. I play on PC only. I don't even have a PlayStation. And there were people saying that we can't make PlayStation accounts in our territory, and it's a violation of terms of service to make it and falsify that information.
That part I don't understand. Like, the part where they didn't enforce this requirement because the servers were on fire, fine. Like, how were they selling this in countries where they knew people couldn't make the account that they themselves were going to require them to use to play it?
I don't know.
This has all the hallmarks to me of literally someone somewhere along the way telling someone, the wrong someone at Sony, that they are not currently enforcing those things. And that person, possibly someone on a legal team, freaking the fuck out and yelling, you have to start enforcing this.
Yeah, it could be. It could be also that Sony being like, when are we capturing all of these people in our ecosystem?
Right.
Like, when are we getting, this is a hugely popular game on the PC. When are we getting all of these people so we can get them on lists and to get them into the PlayStation ecosystem?
Well, and again, nobody on Earth, least of all, I imagine the people who made it, expected Helldivers to have this much attention, this fast, with this much success. Definitely. So I feel like every reaction that they have had to this game and everything they've had to do with it has been far beyond what anyone would have written into a spreadsheet in the preparation running up to its release.
By all appearances, Arrowhead also did not expect this mandate to come down from Sony the way it did, because they have not been very shy about their feelings on it.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into this enough to really say. I believe one of their community managers was just dismissed in the last 12 hours or something.
Oh, really? We should say this is ongoing.
This is super ongoing, but there's been screenshots going around from the game's official Discord of Arrowhead people not speaking very kindly about this policy.
I think one of the quotes in the story I was reading just a while ago was like, hey, I think this came from Arrowhead, or maybe this came from the community manager being like, those negative reviews give us ammunition to go back to Sony and say this policy sucks, so thank you for basically review bombing this, which
I have mixed feelings about that, but okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can actually find the
I understand the sentiment, if nothing else.
I kind of have mixed feelings about this whole thing because it sucks on Sony's part. Don't get me wrong, they have bungled this in a serious way. But also at the same time, the amount of energy that has gone into the backlash against this that you don't see 1/1000th of around the studio closures and layoffs or ongoing harassment or any of the other shit that's way worse, and you know what I mean? Kind of fucking bums me out.
Right, the amount of vocal and foot stomping because,
this is the thing that people are furious about, which again, I'm not saying it's good, it's not. But it's just a bummer.
I don't think review bombing, even if they are saying it's helping, is a net positive. I think that's a thing that we should be discouraging in just about every possible capacity. Also, I just thought about this for a second. Correct me if I'm wrong here. When was the last time Sony had like a big surprise hit? I don't mean like a big hit. They've had plenty of big hit games, but I'm saying like a thing that they could not have possibly projected to do nearly as well as like say this is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is unique not just for Sony, but kind of in general. Like, I can't remember. I mean, obviously, you have your Lethal Companies and Stardew Valleys. Like, that happens fairly regularly in the indie space, but like a team like a medium-sized team doing an online game with a major publisher
for an existing thing that they have not put out a game for in like over 10 years.
Yeah, like I can't think of another instance of something like this happening in this exact configuration of circumstances.
Yeah. And I could totally see Sony just not handling that particularly well, and it seems like they have not.
Yeah, especially as they also are trying to the kind of surprise success also mixed with their fairly nascent push onto PC. You know, like their kind of
like
move
it's just
their baby steps.
It's a market and a platform they just don't have a lot of experience with. They're probably going to end up repeating a lot of the same mistakes that other people have already figured out.
I mean, you're right. They don't have a lot of experience, but they have been doing this for a little while. Like, they do have people in place that have shipped multiple games now on PC.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's when they start trying to extend their own infrastructure into the PC space is what's new for them and where they are clearly stumbling.
So I just wanted to clarify, it was from the community manager, and the community manager said, players making their displeasure known through reviews, refunds, etc. gives us more pull in the discussion with Sony. It hurts to see the game's popularity suffer in ratings, but discussions are ongoing, and we are on the side of the players in this fight. I don't know if that's the community manager that you were maybe referencing had some issue later on, but the upshot of this is that policy has been postponed.
Yes.
Or I think they just backed down, right?
They backed down, but I think there might still be a potential threat of them pulling this in somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it in like 6 months or a year or something, maybe, although at that time, or by then, probably nobody will care.
Yeah, whatever was going to happen on May 30th is not happening.
Yeah, the statement on Steam that they have updated, the May 6 update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players, will not be moving forward.
Yeah.
So that seems pretty definitive for now.
I think armchair quarterbacking this, if you were going to do this, I think you need to say this is coming with cross save. Linking this will give us the ability to manage your data, to have a feature that's been very requested to get cross saves going across consoles. And just say this is the only way we can do this. We have to take control of the saves. We have to link this somehow to an email address or a login ID.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say even incentivize it further with like a unique weapon or skin or armor, or like give people make it optional. B, give people some reason to actually do it that they feel reasonably good about.
Yeah, make it optional, and then give people some kind of like bonus, like a billion places do, or at least used to do until everything became mandatory. It was like, hey, linking this gets you a skin.
Yeah,
and I mean, then you make cross saves happen.
You can kind of see why the executives were just licking their chops here, because this is like, what is this, like 500,000 potential new PlayStation Network accounts you didn't have before? However many people are playing this on PC that don't have one. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure they were just like, we've got to get all these people, but boy, do you not understand how things work on the PC now.
No.
Somebody probably does now.
Yes, they definitely have gotten some hard lessons here. This is not going away, we should point out, because Sucker Punch has already gotten extremely out in front of this. Because, God, that's soon. I didn't realize Ghost of Tsushima is coming on May 16th to the PC, which is like a week from now.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that was happening so soon, but they tweeted, let me click through here. I've only got the single tweet in front of me. Was this in reply to anybody? No, it was just them messaging themselves saying like, hey, it's coming out in, a few days. And a follow-up tweet. Thank you for your feedback. Just so you're aware, a PSN account is required for Legends Online multiplayer mode and to use the PlayStation overlay. It is not required to play the single-player game. So, this is not going away. Like they've relaxed the policy for Helldivers, but that's probably it. I'm sure from now on that's going to be the case.
Yeah. You think if Brad, do you think just kind of and Alex it would have if this were mandatory from the start? Do you think
it would be a different conversation?
Yeah,
do you think it would have impacted the sale of this game at all?
Like yes, but like in a way that actually matters. I don't know.
I think it would have been an impact, but I don't know that it would have been an impact they felt in a major way.
Like they're always like kind of hardcore like zealots that say I will never buy a game that makes me make another account. Like those people do exist, but would it have meaningfully impacted the sales? I don't know.
And I should say territory blocking aside, right? The territories we can't actually do it, and say they pulled it for sale in those territories.
Yeah.
I just mean people who are like against making those accounts. Would they've just made burner accounts? Would I don't know. It's
tough to say. I mean, the game caught fire enough that I bet a lot of people would have held their nose and just gone for it at some point. The other thing we haven't mentioned here is that Steam started issuing, basically, from what I could tell, unconditional refunds. Like there were people out there that had like 70 hours played that were getting their full money back for the game.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
I thought they just issued a thing that said was it early access or pre-release was going to count towards time played in a way.
This was, they were making a special exception.
Oh, here. For Helldivers?
Yes, specifically. That's what I mean. They started just refunding people for Helldivers. I don't know how easy it was. I don't know how. Yeah. I don't know if it was like literally anybody that wanted one.
I wonder if that's a thing a publisher or developer can turn on for a Steam page.
I don't know.
That's
it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because that's also hitting Valve's revenue pretty substantially with their 30% cut. Of course, they take less. They take less for a game like Helldivers now.
Huh. Yeah, ongoing. Seems like they're in damage control mode at this point. Those devs have not had had a bumpy road with a popular game.
A lot of peaks and valleys.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure they are still pretty happy about the success of their game and pretty jazzed about that, but
I think they just wish they were a little better prepared for it.
Yeah, in all aspects at this point. Upshot being, it sounds like nothing on that front is moving forward currently.
Not in the immediate future, no.
All right.
What a time.
Next story?
Yeah, a couple more quick things here. Switch Next model. Perhaps you've heard of it.
I've only heard rumors, Brad.
That's the official name until we have something better.
I honestly hope they just call it that.
That would be great. Switch Next or something. Sure,
no,
why not?
Literally, Switch Next model. That put it on the box.
Shuntaro Furukawa, the president of Nintendo, tweeted. Well, the tweet came from the Nintendo Company Limited Twitter account.
Did it say this is Furukawa?
Yes, absolutely. It says this is
Fantastic.
Furukawa, president of Nintendo. We will make an announcement about the successor to Nintendo Switch within this fiscal year. He also goes on to say, "Hey, we will have a Nintendo Direct in June. That thing will not be there." Just so you know.
I love that after all of this rumor and probably more than a year of rumor about the Switch 2 and leaks and what's it going to have, magnetic rails and all of this stuff, we get a tweet that's like, yeah, man, we're gonna officially talk about this at some point within this fiscal year. Out.
Yeah, this is
out.
This is not some great revelation, obviously, because all the rumors peg this thing as coming out within their next fiscal year. So of course they're going to talk about it. But it's the first time they themselves have addressed the thing directly, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And that seems somewhat notable. I guess it's also, Okay, actually, sorry. Let me make a distinction here. In the tweet, it's not notable. All they say is the successor to Nintendo Switch. It is a quote from an earnings call that he gave around the same time, or within the last few days. Somebody on the call asked about. I think according to this tweet from David Gibson, who is an analyst at MST Financial.
Okay.
Who I assume was on the call. He says, in the results call, when asked if next-gen console was brand new or ... he answered, Switch Next model is the appropriate way to describe it. So,
Put it on the box.
Is it going to be called Is it going to be called Switch or not? Like, is it going to have Switch in the name or not? I'm sure plenty of people don't care, but I care about minute details of console stuff like that.
No,
I think.
Yeah, sorry, Alex, go ahead.
I mean, if you want to translate, I think the thing he's trying to emphasize is that the thing they are talking about is a next Switch and not a next all-new console that is totally different from the Switch.
Yeah, like the actual content of that message, of course, is, hey, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what we're doing now.
Right.
And there's no reason for them to do something that radically different.
But next model of Switch definitely kind of sounds like, hey, it will be another Switch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is it a Switch Pro?
Like, do they give up that name?
Or is it a Switch 2?
No, this is the next model.
Yes, Switch Pro sends the wrong message about what it is.
I don't know if you heard what he said, Vinny. He said it's the Switch Next model.
What does that mean? It could be anything.
It's the Switch Next model.
It's got magnets in it.
It is a Switch 2.
Yeah, Switch 2.
But I hate the name Switch 2. What do they got?
Double Switch.
Is the Wii U a Wii Next model?
No.
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
does that count?
It was a brand new console. The Wii U was a brand new console, just like this next Switch model is a brand new console.
Yes.
You know what? Yeah, I guess it is. You're right.
A Wii is a Wii 2? A Wii U would be a Wii 2 in this context? Where
it probably should have been.
More or less.
I'm trying to think, does Nintendo have anything else that is...
Yeah, Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
Is this a Super Nintendo? Is
and
Super
then
Switch?
N64 is out there, kind of living free, and then GameCube is out there living free.
No, if you're calling it Switch Next model, it's got to be more similar to a Switch than the Super Nintendo was to a Nintendo.
A lot of people advocate for the name Super Switch out there. Like I get the nostalgic appeal, but come on.
I like it, actually.
Yeah, I'm kind of down with it too.
They are not going to do that.
But maybe they should.
All right. Well, I don't know. We'll hear about this within the fiscal year.
Yes.
Exciting news.
I mean,
I'm kind of shocked that we're not going to hear about it in June.
I'm not.
It's too early. Too early for them. If it's shipping on the same timeline the previous Switch did, which was March, that's probably too long a promotional cycle.
I feel like 6 months is probably the ramp up.
Yeah, I think it was pretty late in the previous year when they unveiled the first Switch.
So like October,
if I remember. Yeah, maybe closer to the end of the year. I don't know. This also kind of reads to me a little bit like, okay, too many legitimate leaks are coming out. We need to say something.
This could have started affecting stock prices. I'm getting so many questions.
We can't completely lose control of the message here.
Well, and on top of that, again, if we are going into a fairly thin Summer Games Fest and all of that, I'm sure they don't want to be the ones that like everyone is pinning their hopes and dreams to of here's the big exciting news and then being like, here's another Wii U game we forgot we hadn't put on the Switch yet. Anyway, bye.
Sure. Temper some expectations.
Yeah.
Like mine. Well, it's not all Nintendo has. Brad, you dropped this in before we started recording.
Yeah, I had put the story in about this getting rated and the rating. Games leak through ratings all the time. But then they went and announced it this morning for real. A, I wanted a feel-good story at the end of this. B, it actually does speak to, hey, what the hell else is Nintendo going to have this year? They have announced Nintendo World Championships NES Edition.
Good.
And the trailer for it, they went and got like all the previous winners and some finalists of the Nintendo World Championships from different eras.
I didn't know there were like fairly modern era Nintendo
Yeah, they
World
did a couple.
They only did two of them, I think.
Was it 16 and 17 they did?
It might have
been
15 and 17?
It was somewhere around there. Yeah, they did a couple more. This looks cool. It's coming out July 18th. $30. It seems kind of a lot like NES Remix 1 and 2 for the Wii U if you played those, which were awesome.
Yeah, those were good games.
Except that was more about like mashing things up and doing weird stuff to those old games in bite-sized challenges, and this sounds more like it's a straight-ahead like speedrunning challenge thing.
Can I say this feels like button mashing? You know what I'm saying? This is like the what was that round called?
Did button mashing feel like the Nintendo World Championships?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Consolation round? Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Yeah. There was the memory leak round
on the horn.
Yeah. Memory leak.
And then there was the final thing.
Yeah, which was against like you fighting one of the editors at some game. I think mine was Super Mario Kart.
150 speedrunning challenges. across these games: Balloon Fight, Donkey Kong, Excite Bike, Ice Climber, Kid Icarus, Kirby's Adventure, Metroid, Super Mario Brothers 1 through 3, and The Lost Levels, and both Zeldas 1 and 2.
So can I recreate the end of the Wizard?
I don't know. Maybe.
Is the end of the Wizard high score?
I don't remember.
Isn't it like Super Mario Brothers 3?
I remember it was nonsense. I don't remember exactly what
He's
it was.
using the warp whistle.
I don't know that they delineated the rules especially clearly.
No.
Whatever they were. Also, remember, it was the first time they were ever seeing Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah, they were really hoping the Razzle Dazzle would carry that scene through.
They're selling a physical edition of this that comes with a replica gold cart.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
From the, I don't know how much of a replica that is of the real thing, but for people who don't know, the gold cart Nintendo World Championship cart is one of the rarest and most valuable things out there in game collecting.
Was it ever given away to consumers, or is that a thing people got out?
I think
internally?
I want to say the gold one was given out through the mail to a very small number of people.
Okay.
There are gray ones. My understanding is every contestant of the World Championships got a gray cart, so there's like 90 of those in existence or something.
Right.
But I think there's only
switches on it. Is that what that sticker is?
Yeah, but there's only around 24 of the gold carts.
Oh wow!
So get a piece of the aggro crag, man. Hold on to that.
And who knows what they cost now? Like before the explosion in game collecting value, those things were extremely expensive. God only knows now.
Yeah.
Seems neat.
I don't know if you've seen this Super Famicom prototype that has surfaced and
I
is
did.
now sitting at well over $1 million at auction.
Wait, like on an eBay?
It is on a Japanese
Yahoo
auction.
Auctions?
It might be. I think Yahoo Auctions is.
I think it's a Japanese auction.
Yeah,
they still
it
use
is.
Yahoo stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Wild.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm just like, as soon as I saw it, it was definitely not at $1 million when I saw it.
It has gone up rapidly.
But as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is going to be one of the most expensive things anyone ever buys from video games.
I think it's got a headphone jack on it.
I said before, it's like now all the billionaires out there that were our age can buy up all the cool stuff that we had.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be the billionaires just wanted Lamborghinis and stuff. Now they're coming for our classic games.
Now they want that Castlevania mint in box, bitch.
Totally. Yeah. Like what happened to like the old 50-year-old billionaire oil barons who are like, I just want a big car and a big house. And now it's yeah,
I'll take that over the guys who like go trophy hunting and shit. Like if your trophy is just a mint in box Burger Time, then I would rather see that on your wall than a rhino.
Then like a rare elephant or something. Sure,
yeah,
sure. They're doing both. Well, actually, no. You're right. They're getting
those guys aren't leaving. Those guys aren't leaving the continent. I'm telling you right now.
They're getting that in an Iron Man suit. They're
yeah.
They
fly to Japan 4 times a year to buy video games, and otherwise they don't leave.
That he wore this Iron Man suit. It's the real Thanos glove. All right. Is that it for the news?
Yeah.
Now you can relive the Wizard at home on a Switch until a Switch 2 comes out, until the Switch Next model comes out.
Or you could just watch the Wizard, which actually you probably don't need to do that.
Probably don't need to do
2024.
You know what would have been fun for this in my head is if they put out a limited edition Switch compatible Power Glove that didn't have any of the motion stuff in it, that just had like a Switch controller on it. That would be fun.
That'd be pretty bad.
That would be pretty bad. I would think about buying it and probably would not. Probably would not.
Would not.
It'd probably be too small for me. Like the original Power Glove.
Oh yeah, no, you need like those like workman glove style Power Glove.
Yeah, I need a big Power Glove. All right, that's it for the news. Emails?
Sure.
We got an email address here. It is podcast@nextlander.com. Podcast@nextlander.com. Brad Shoemaker, what's in the email bin?
Let's just do a couple here real quick. We got more than one from people talking about the rails on their Joy-Cons when we talked about the magnetic Joy-Cons coming to Switch Next model.
Yeah. Alex, I don't know if you were here for that story.
I might not have been.
They were talking about this magnetic system for proposed or rumored again about holding the Joy-Cons to the side of the Switch and replacing the rails. And Brad and I and Rob Zachney were saying, the rails worked pretty well for us. I don't know if that was one that we needed to replace.
I don't know. Whenever they talk about those super strong magnet things, I just think about the Ring camera device I had on my front door that I definitely secured to that magnet, and then one day it just fell off.
Okay, cool.
Well, these are... I forget what the technology was. It was some kind of activation, like voltage activation. It had a name, the magnet. It was cool. Brad, what are the folks saying?
Sounds neat. James from Napanee in Ontario, Canada, I guess is how you might say that.
Sure.
I am unaware as to how widespread an issue this is, but ever since I left my Switch OLED on the couch and my 2-year-old son saw fit to immediately pick it up and hurl it onto our hardwood laminate, my left Joy-Con refuses to properly click into place. It'll still detect that it has been inserted, make the snap sound effect, and show the little glowy indicator, but while playing in portable mode over time, it will slowly pop back out and I have to click it back in again. This occasionally, but not always, causes the Switch to think I have disconnected it and asks me to resync the controllers so it can tell whether I'm using portable mode or not.
That sounds incredibly annoying.
Yes. Obviously, my case is fairly unique, and I'm lucky that was the extent of the damage, but I have to wonder if the spring mechanism isn't holding up as well over time as they had originally hoped. I didn't think to mention it last week. The review Switch that we got in the San Francisco office got dropped on the concrete.
Oh, geez.
At some point, and one of the Joy-Cons could just kind of slide out of the rail without hitting the release after that.
Interesting.
So the thing is far from foolproof.
Okay.
So maybe the magnets are an upgrade.
And cool.
Yeah, everybody likes magnets.
Brad, anybody else here?
Yeah, let's do one more real quick. I've lost it. It was about William Friedkin. Where was it? Here it is.
Billy Friedkin.
John writes in, please watch every William Friedkin movie for the Watchcast. I mostly just want to hear you all react to Sorcerer from 1977. One of the most insane movies I've ever seen, and it came out the same day as Star Wars. So nobody watched it when it came out.
All right. Here's the thing. I would totally do a Billy Friedkin month. I don't think we could watch all his movies because, one, some of them are very, very bad. I have to be real. The ones that are good are very, very good.
He's Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know anything about William Friedkin.
I've never seen The Exorcist.
All right, let me name some movies, and you tell me what you know, if anything, about them, and if you don't know anything about them, guess what they're about.
Okay, great, ready.
Sorcerer.
It's about a sorcerer.
That's
Never
my
heard
guess,
of.
too.
Okay, crap. I'm 0 for 1.
Is it about a cross-country quest to attend the Nintendo World Championship?
No.
Good guess.
It's mostly about guys in a really shitty truck trying to get nitroglycerin across a Latin American jungle.
Okay, would not have guessed that, ever.
No. Cruising, starring Al Pacino.
Never seen it. Is it about looking for picking up hot dates?
That was going to be my guess also.
Yeah.
What if I told you it was about an undercover cop who goes undercover in the S&M gay subculture of New York City to catch a serial killer?
Okay, sure. Okay.
It's I have a lot of feelings about that movie. To Live and Die in L.A.
I'm
the place to be.
Just gonna go with, is it about living and dying in L.A.?
I mean, loosely. It's mostly about counterfeiting.
Okay. Is there like a lot of crime movies?
There's several in there, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that's a particularly good one. That one's got Willem Dafoe in it.
Okay.
Let me see here if I can just think of one or two other ones that maybe you would have at least heard of. Okay. All right. I guess we could do this one. Have you ever heard of the movie The Guardian?
Wait, is that about a Secret Service agent or like a guy?
No!
Crap. Okay. All right.
Literally, To Live and Die in L.A. was the Secret Service one, because that one's about counterfeiting.
Okay. No, then I don't know about The Guardian. Is it sci-fi?
No, it's about an evil demon nanny that sacrifices babies to a tree.
Huh.
It fucking sucks.
Really?
It was one of the first movies I ever rented that I was deeply disappointed by. So,
okay.
The last one I will throw out here, Blue Chips, starring Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes, I've heard that name.
All right.
About basketball.
Yes, that one is about basketball. He also directed the one of the two David Caruso starring vehicles of 1995. Jade.
Oh, Jade. yes.
I want to talk to Jade.
Wasn't that the movie that he left He was on NYPD Blue, right?
Yes. That and Kiss of Death came out the same year. Those were supposed to be his big starring vehicles, and both were pretty much failures.
He had to go hitch his wagon to Joe Esterhaas.
Yeah.
And then regret that choice forever.
But yeah, Billy Friedkin, he has some bangers in his catalog, also some not so great ones, but that's true of anyone. Oh, also The French Connection. I guess I should mention that one too.
I have heard of The French Connection.
Yes.
About a heist.
Yes, it's about cops, it's about drug deals, it's about cool car chases, it's a lot.
Okay. I'm looking at his filmography here. I feel like I've heard of Rules of Engagement, though maybe I haven't seen it.
I've heard of Rules of Engagement. I don't know if I've actually seen that.
There's a movie on here called Rampage. I assume it is not involved.
Not that one. Not the one with The Rock.
Okay.
It's a very different Rampage.
Rules of Engagement has Samuel L. Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones very big, like their faces on the poster with the names above them completely reversed, mismatched.
I love it when they do that. It's so infuriating.
Somebody didn't really put a lot of thought into that poster design.
Or I'm gonna go with like somebody's agent was like, no, Tommy Lee Jones comes first.
Oh yeah, no, I guarantee it was some kind of like he contractually has to be listed first on the left or something.
That's right.
But
definitely, yeah.
It's just too perfectly backwards.
Totally.
Not to notice.
And like somebody told it, and some poster designer was, God damn it, are you fucking kidding me? I already laid this whole thing out. No, I'm sorry. He's got a. Oh, I'm just swapping them then. I'm not switching the faces. I'm swapping them.
William Friedkin is also one of my favorite people to hear do commentaries because very few people have ever given less of a fuck than William Friedkin did, and he talks so much shit, like Orson Welles level, like just does not give a shit.
When he passed away a little while back, a lot of quotes started flying left and right that made that very clear.
Nobody on earth has cared less than he did.
About like the products he made?
No, like just like a legendary shit talker.
Yeah, like about any kind of pleasantries whatsoever. Like does not care about like maintaining relationships whatsoever.
Got you. Burn every bridge.
Yeah.
All right. Is that the email section, Brad?
Yep.
That's going to do it for the email. Speaking of the Watchcast and movies, if you hadn't heard, we are back on our Twin Peaks bullshit. We are back in season 3, The Return. Episodes 1 and 2 have been watched. They have been recorded. They will be airing on the Patreon next week. The seal is broken.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot contain the Twin Peaks anymore. We will.
It is breaking out of the box.
Finish our Twin Peaks journey.
Or it will finish us.
So you can find out, if you've been joining us on the Twin Peaks journey, you can find out what we think about the beginning of The Return. That will be going up next week. We're doing 2 episodes, an episode per episode.
Podcast, yeah.
So if you're keeping up there, we did 1 and 2. And again, that will go up on the Watchcast feed over on the Patreon side of things. You can check it out there. A lot of fun. Spoilers. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We have, if you missed it, Brad and I went into Fallout 76 last week. Got our nose wet.
How's it doing?
They're NPCs now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which were not in there the last time I played it.
I did hear that there is like a fan base for that game that, since it has somewhat normalized, at least is frequent.
We saw a player that was well over level 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did some quests together. I think there's still some funkiness in there, but
I don't think it's amazing, but it was nice to see what it's evolved into, and it seems like something you could play if you were desperate for Fallout.
Yeah.
I personally am going to take the alternative tack, by the way, of streaming some Fallout 1.
There you go. That'll be on Thursday, 5 Eastern. Go Vault Dweller.
I have just got such a Jones for some Fallout right now. I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go play that one, the first one.
Interplays Fallout. Have you played Fallout 1 ever?
No.
Do you know anything about it?
I mean, I know the basics. I know it's isometric. It's a CRPG.
There's a wasteland.
Did not realize the New California Republic factors so heavily into the first 2 games. Like through osmosis, I thought that was primarily a New Vegas thing.
I can't remember.
Had no idea what the focus of the first 2 games was, so I am really looking forward to seeing what it is.
I can't remember what made it into 2 and what made it into 1 in terms of iconic Fallout stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Characters. You're going to find out?
Yes.
That will be on Thursday. I'm going to be streaming before that, though I'm not 100% sure what I'm firing up quite yet. And then Friday, we're going to kick things back off together with Darkseid 2. What's happening with Mike?
I have to know.
Mike's out there. He's got parallel universes.
He's out there doing something.
People's heads are empowering crystals, and I don't know.
More than anything else during my break, that was the game, the thing that we have ongoing that has been occupying my mind the most for some insane reason.
What's up with Mike?
I need to know.
Doofy Mike. And then, Alex, you and I got back into Cyberpunk, pushing the Idris Elba story forward there in Phantom Liberty, making moves. Things are happening. Choices are being made.
Oh, yeah.
In Night City and Phantom Liberty. You can find that over on YouTube, like we said, over on the Watchcast, or on the Patreon side of things. You can find the Watchcast. You can find the Ramblecast. You can find Planorama. You can find Never Been a Better Podcast, which we are going to record hopefully this week. That'll probably be up next week. But all of that stuff at patreon.com/Nextlander.
Nextlander.
Nextlander. I don't know why I said it like that. Just
but that's now how everyone has to say it from now on.
Find a tier there that is right for you. There is one tier there that gets their names read on this here podcast. It is the Mysterious Benefactors tier. Alex Navarro, can you read our Mysterious Benefactors for this week?
Oh, I suppose. Our Mysterious Benefactors for this week are Sean Miller, RRE, Infelicitus Rips, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre, Keeper of the Orb, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, Hashtag Bunny Redacted, Jad Rita, Statics, Fantasticasm89, Razgriz2, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiefkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks again to all our Mysterious Benefactors, and thanks again to everybody who has supported us, whether it's over on the Patreon, watching our YouTube stuff, Twitch, listening to this here podcast. We appreciate it. Can't do it without you. Will we have more Final Fantasy towards the end of the year? I don't know. What will Microsoft be doing this year? Who knows? Can't say.
What is anybody doing ever now?
What is going on? Will Alex enjoy the remainder of the Fallout series?
I think so.
Nobody knows anything. And that's why we come here to this podcast. All I can say is we'll probably play some video games. News will happen. And we're happy to have everybody come join us as we go into the great unknown on this May fate.
Oh, God damn it.
Thank you, Alex Navarro.
I'm not thanking you.
Thank you, Brad Shoemaker. And we'll be back next week.